No, you're testing the English language. My first year of university, we were chatting, university bana iko vipi bana. So I started explaining how it is. So this friend of mine decides now the English is the language you speak. So he wanted to ask me a question. It has puzzled me to date. I explained something, so he asked me in English, how do you mean? Okay.
How do you mean?
What do you mean?
Yes, okay. Yeah, hiyo yote umesema.
How do you mean?
Kwa ufupi. Maana yake ni nini?
Hebu eleza.
Eleza bwana. Ueleweke. So I am fine. Niko mzima.
Kabisa. Yes. Very good.
Tumefurahi kukuona.
Sana. Ni baraka tele.
Tele kabisa bwana.
Bwana.
Uhai ni mambo yote, sio?
Bwana. Oh yeah, how do you do, everybody? Today is Thursday. It's that day. It's Justice Thursday, and we will have a Justice Thursday conversation. You are in traffic on the road. You're stopped by a police officer. Then, something, I don't know, you are speeding, your tires are worn out, your lights are broken, whatever they tell you, your paint is chipped, your
car is old.
Your car is old, your insurance is expired, you're not displaying insurance, you don't have a valid driving license, twende kotini. Now, what happens at the traffic court? That is the conversation that we want to have today. And we will be joined by two officers of the traffic court. One is the Honorable Martha Nanzushi, and the other one is the Honorable Esther Kimilu, two magistrates of the traffic court in Milimani, Nairobi, just to understand the operations of the traffic court. It's usually just that place that you just don't know. Have you been taken to the traffic court, Ndu?
No.
Sitting?
Do pigs fly?
What was your offense the last time you were in traffic court?
Oh wow, the last time.
She overspeeding.
It was speeding.
I was actually overspeeding.
Where are you going?
I was going to Busia.
And you actually went to court. So
yes.
You did a cash bail pale na police.
I was given a free bond.
You're given a free bond and told to come to the police.
Go to court.
And to the court. What were they holding? Did they remain with your driving license, with your logbook, with?
No, they just told me come to court. That's it.
And you went to court?
Yes, I did.
Had they actually even registered your name on it?
Yeah, I was in the books. I even paid a fine.
How much?
5,000 bob.
How long did it take you from the moment you got to court to the moment you paid?
I went to the magistrate. I went early. I was there before 8. I asked where the court was. I was taken to the magistrate's chambers instead. We sat there, we chatted. He called the prosecutor. We sat, we chatted, asked me what I did, etc., etc.
Sounds like such a CT thing, isn't it?
Then tea was brought, we drank.
No.
Yeah, I'm telling you what happened. We continued chatting. Then he said, you have to pay a fine. I said, okay, what's the least I can pay? I was told 5,000. Asked me, do you have it? I said, I have it. So somebody was called, took the 5,000. I was brought a receipt. We continued chatting and drinking tea. Then around 8:45, I left.
So you never actually went to court?
entered into the courtroom.
What do you mean? I was in court. Where do you think the magistrate works?
Oh my
Were you
Lord.
in the magistrate's chamber? Or
Yeah,
were
it
you
was.
in court?
I was in his office. We're chit-chatting. We discussed the offense for something like around 30 seconds. Then we talked about the injustices of this planet and other such related matters, the weighty matters of the planet.
So this was from 8:30 to what, 9:30?
No, 7:45 to around 8:45. An hour. I was there for an hour. I was there because the offices needed to open for me to pay the fine. But beyond that, we're just chatting.
And you left the magistrate in his chamber?
Yeah, I left him. He was not going to court to deal with
other humans.
With other offenders who had
Now that he had finished with CT, he can't deal with other human beings.
who had caused real offense.
Right.
Yeah. The magistrates will be here. They'll tell us how they deal with such people. Like CT. Sawa. And then at 9 a.m. we'll be having journalist from Uganda. His name is Paul Busharizi. He is a producer of current affairs at Vision Group, it's a Ugandan media outlet. He has authored a book called The House That Museveni Built. It's looking back into the years of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni's reign as president of Uganda and many other things. So we'll be joined by Paul Busharizi at 9 a.m. to talk about that book and his experiences in Uganda and as a journalist. 16 minutes after 6. Are we live streaming that thing?
No, so there's a mother of a 17-year-old in the MCR this morning, and she's trying to do like that. Auntie, how far? She's giving me the thumbs up. She's saying 2 minutes.
So Ednah is away for a couple of days. She's going to recharge her batteries. But Mumbi is our producer from today into next week.
Everybody say hi to Mumbi and be nice.
Say hello to Mumbi, okay? Yeah, so if you're online, just log on to our Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and Twitter and tell us where you're locked in from. After we take a look at the weather forecast, we'll be saying a collective good morning to Mumbi.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
I know the sun is out in Nairobi at least. As you tembea, be careful. Manchester United are trying to sign anyone. Watch out where your children are. Please hide yourselves.
Sugar and spice!
I reached a point where suicide things were just going south completely. Something stopped me.
Ace FM, Nairobi.
Clear conditions at 13 in Nairobi, highs of 25. At 14 is partly cloudy in Nakuru, highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 24. And a partly cloudy Nyeri at 12. 13 and partly cloudy in Eldoret, highs of 25 and lows of 12 today. It's cloudy at 24 in Mombasa, going to highs of 29. We'll see highs of 29 as well in a mostly cloudy Malindi at 25. At 20, it's mostly cloudy in Kisumu, highs of 28, and it'll go to highs of 27 in a cloudy Kakamega at 16. Cloudy conditions at 18 in Kampala, and it's mostly cloudy at 24 in Dar es Salaam. 12 degrees and partly cloudy in Johannesburg, and it's 25 degrees and a very rainy morning in Lagos, highs of 29. It's cloudy at 24, highs of 31, and at 31 already. Beijing on Thursday afternoon is sunny. It'll go to highs of 34 and lows of 19. It's cloudy at 15 in Paris, highs of 28, and at 11 London is cloudy, going to highs of 22. It's a hazy night in New York Wednesday. Coming into Thursday, we'll see highs of 25 and lows of 13.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. All right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The system has decided to do like that. So now we are up.
Now we're up and everything is up. Paul Wanjohi says good morning. He's tuning in from Manchester in the UK and says listening to you guys actually from Greater Manchester. It's like upper and lower Runda. Okay, keep it up, he says. Good morning, good people. That early drink, there it is. Sophia Damari says good morning. A wonderful team. Good morning from James Mwangi. Tupac Shakur, did you know he's alive? Well, he says good morning, Wananchi. Listening live from my truck while driving from Vancouver to Nova Scotia. That's in Canada.
Okay. Where are the forest fires on the road? Take a picture. Share.
Show us. All right. King Dave Lubale says Kumbe City is dynasty.
Kabisa.
Kabisa. If you didn't know, now you know. Stephen Langat says good morning. Rishi says good morning from Dallas. Mumbi, Sasa, the same Tupac Shakur who has come back to life is greeting you. Azaria says good morning and watching you guys. So proud of you. Hi to Mumbai. I'm thinking that autocorrect changed it from Mumbi to Mumbai. watching from Dallas, downtown Texas. Soulful says, Assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam from Abu Dhabi. Good morning to you. Daniel says, good morning, my favorite team from Nairobi, Eddie Oduo. Why are you angry this morning? He says, I'm so disappointed this morning. I'm unable to receive your transmission on frequency 102.5.
Kisumu.
Koru and its environs have a Spice FM radio blackout. For me, it is a disaster. Wagwan!
No, that's a bad one.
No. Must to check why. All right. Some guy who's calling himself Kisirani Sumbufu wa Matunda says he's tuned in from Moy's Bridge and it's well represented. King Solomon says, Ednah, open YouTube one. No, Mumbi has opened it. David Munyao says, hi Mumbi. Kimilili is well represented. Amos Freeman. Zachary Oduya says, good morning, CT Eric Ndu and Mumbi. How will our pay slips look like in July 2023 with the housing levy or rather tax? It's a question. Jose, we see you, man. Happy Thursday this week. Hissing sound from the Eldoret frequency. Who interferes with the Eldoret frequency? Ndu, are you calling me? I don't know, man. I don't know.
YouTube, Facebook, alternatives.
Tindio, thank you very much.
Meanwhile,
Opige Kopige says, good morning there. We're here again. The only way to start the day, indeed. Good morning from the Great Wall of Kino still. And, hey? Okay. Odero, we'll talk. Robert Maria says, good morning, tuning from Minnesota in Kenya. All right. Michael Macradol says, good morning, tuning from Kericho. Ian Hissa says, YouTube, we're in darkness. Put on the lights, man. It's on. The lights are on, friend. Diana Mboro is tuning from Kitengela, and Robert Bogo is also tuned in this morning. Many more people trickling in as we're waking up this morning. Obunga Finest says he's tuning from Nakuru. Mbicho Kiamtugu is listening, and Ondicho is tuned in from the land of the rising sun. Karibuni nyote.
Everybody, welcome. City, Malawi.
here we come. Here we come. You know, I was reading. This thing of reading history is a good thing. Malawi also has a history of taking former presidents to court.
Yes.
Just taking presidents to court. The outcome, as we speak, they've been taken to court.
That's it, eh?
If it weren't enough to fall, the ladder lands on top of you.
If it weren't
enough to fall, the ladder lands on top of you.
Madharau.
Yani, surely.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Surely, can't it see you've already fallen?
Yeah. All right, let's look at the headlines.
All right, on the front page of the Standard this morning, what are we looking at? Prayer Day, tax talk outshines unity call. Prayer Day is usually one where people come together, they pray, and then talk about unity. It's a unity call, happens all the time. Well, not so much yesterday because folks are talking about taxes. In spite of the theme of yesterday's prayer, which was boycotted by the opposition, being reconciliation with God and men, President Ruto took the opportunity to rail at those opposing the finance bill, saying they are insincere. Boom, boom. In the meantime, 80 billion shillings more for Ruto to spend in ramping up a limping economy. The budget estimates presented to Parliament yesterday show the figure has gone up by 80 billion from the initial projections, with education and health taking the lion's share. Let's put an end to this madness in Shakahola. It's an editorial today. The op-ed today is talking about that and says, look, this is madness. Just stop this thing. Grab it by the reins, deal with it once and for all. Put a message in the minds of anybody who's going to want to come and do something like this again in the future. Raila is asking Kenyans to brace for protests. All right. Let's take a look at The Nation. MPs and the World Bank warn Ruto on tax. House Committee and the World Bank have cautioned President William Ruto against his ambitious taxation plan, warning that the country's economy is in bad shape and the new measures could sink more Kenyans into poverty. So let us look at that later. Calls for unity, peace dominate the prayer breakfast yesterday, and schools will receive funds tomorrow. According to CS Mashogu, who was called before the House Committee.
She's saying now tomorrow. Now, 2 weeks
ago he had said by Thursday. So sasa hiyo haikuwa serious. But this one,
now tomorrow
is tomorrow, Friday. You will start to receive. He said he has received an undertaking from Treasury that our schools will be able to receive capitation funds by the end of the week. He said money was supposed to have come last week, but Treasury hit a snag. Sasa, snag, away.
Read. No, this one, we cannot blame the Minister for Education.
No?
No.
Okay.
He is... No. He's promised and then he comes and tells you what he has been promised.
It's very true.
Yes.
His promise to you was based on somebody's promise.
A promise that was made. And this doesn't sound like a promise. It's a confirmed promise.
A reconfirmed one.
Yani, we are promising you that we are promising you. That
Imagine.
one. Yes. And then it didn't happen. So now he's being promised again, times 3.
So now he has come and promised you.
Again.
Tomorrow. Meanwhile, half term is in 2 weeks, just putting it out there. So, it would be nice if something happened before then.
Yeah. Now, let me tell you. Have you told us about the nation?
I have.
See everything? Let me tell you about the Business Daily then. Business Daily top headline: KRA given 1.2 billion shillings to hire spies to hunt for tax cheats.
Shoot me.
They have been allocated 1.2 billion shillings to hire extra intelligence and enforcement officers who will identify and arrest tax cheats in fresh efforts to raise revenue and cut reliance on borrowing. Parliament's Budget and Appropriations Committee, in a review of the budget for the year starting July, is asking the Treasury to provide additional billions for the taxman to hire more people. The workforce will bolster revenue collection from new planned levies and pursue tax cheats as the Treasury seeks to raise at least 400 B in additional taxes for the next financial year. Other headline is about remittances. Kenyans abroad are avoiding banks on sending money back home. The World Bank says the cash transfer fees in the banking sector and lower exchange rate is encouraging the use of traditional money transfer by Kenyans abroad. The global lender says it's costing an average of 1,549 bob to wire 27,000 bob from the US to Kenya through banks. It's saying that the spread, that's the difference between the prices a dealer buys and sells a currency, has seen banks pay less per dollar compared to traditional money transfers and Forex Bureau. The World Bank does not list the traditional methods, but the CBK says the informal channels include sending money through friends and relatives, personally carrying cash, and hawala, while acknowledging that banks remain dominant on remittance transfer. So they're still dominant, but more and more Kenyans are now using other alternative ways of sending money home. Imagine. City.
The Star.
Yes.
Top right-hand corner. In teal green. Probe is headline. Kempsa, sub-headline. Ministry of Health contradicted Global Fund. MOH Global Fund clashed over Nets tender. Kempsa. Okay, that's the story. Suspended CEO explains why ANC extended the process. That story is to be told. Yes, bless you. But this story on the Standard, 80B for Ruto to spend in revamping up limping economy, it's all good and well. But it's an even better story if you look at the details of the budget increase and what is actually being increased. Now, those details in the Standard are on page 8. Then there is a story headline. I like this one because of the language in which it was written. This is Taifa Leo.
Hey, you have Taifa Leo
City.
today.
Yes.
Taifa Leo.
Where?
No, this headline and then the sub headline which followed. Very important. Okay. Ushuru. Wabunge waonya Ruto. Teteng, as you would say. Ushuru.
Okay.
See Ushuru.
Ushuru.
Ushuru. Okay?
Ushuru.
Yeah. Mswada wa fedha. Mapato ya Wakenya wengi kwa sasa ni mdogo mno kuweza kuhimili nyongeza kubwa ya ushuru ambao serikali inalenga kusanya kupitia mswada wa fedha 2023. Wabunge wameonya serikali. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa pili. That's on page 2.
Wanna what? What?
This headline I found, the way it is written, the way it's put in Kiswahili.
Kabisa.
No, this one I had to share with you wonderful people. Ilikuwa inabidi. Yes.
Let's take that break then. It's 29 to 7, time for traffic. To take a look at what's happening on the roads. Later on today, we'll be giving you a chance to win something big with Saritia City. Sindio? Aya, sawa. You just stay locked and keep tuned. What's that? Keep locked and stay tuned.
Iyo yote. Locked and tuned inside.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
When the engine revs, will you be ready to get all that petrol head enthusiasm at this year's annual Digger Motor Show? Well, you better belt up and make your way to KICC from the 20th to the 23rd of July 2023 for a wholesome 4-day event. Come and join car lovers, bike enthusiasts, spare part dealers, insurance as well as asset financiers, and more for what will be an unforgettable experience by far. We are going all out to make it a great show for you and the whole family with something for everyone. So, you better not miss out. For more information or participation, contact Caroline on 0723803601 or email cnyandiaka@standardmedia.co.ke. Digger Motor Show 2023 is brought to you by Standard Group and Digger Motors and is powered by Spice FM.
Bro, the game is about to start. Let's go.
Yeah. But just give me a minute, man. Malize.
What's up? Who are you chatting with?
I'm just filing my returns, then we bounce. Because I hope you remember the deadline is June 30th.
The game will start, banner.
Where it doesn't take time. And yep, I'm done.
That was fast. Wait, show me how you've done yours, because I don't want to pay any penalty.
Just log into itax.kra.go.ke and file your returns. And if you don't know how to, just go to KRA's YouTube page and watch a tutorial. It's that easy.
Allah, filing returns is easier than cooking.
Easy peasy, msay.
Kenya Revenue Authority reminds all PIN holders to file their 2022 tax returns on or before 30th of June 2023. For assistance, call 0711-099-999 or email callcenter@kra.go.ke. You can also visit any of the KRA service centers or any Huduma center.
All right, it started early on Jogger Road, and we're seeing that picking up as you're going out towards Landis. Landis is free, however, getting into the city via way of the Kamkunji roundabout, so it doesn't look too bad there. Uhuru Highway will take you into the city real quick, coming off of the Nyeri Stadium roundabout. Not too much of an issue happening there. It looks good on James Gishara as it does on Waiyaki Way. It's building up on the Thika Superhighway. We're looking at a bumper-to-bumper situation from Survey out to the junction of Moranga Road. So that's what's happening there. It still looks pretty good right around Limuru Road. So if you're tired of that getting stuck every morning kind of thing, you might want to leave now or, later. But let's see. What else is happening? Not much, actually. It's the slow start to Thursday. So it looks good now. Now is the time to make a bolt for it so that you don't get stuck in the traffic that is likely to come later. And then let's talk on Spice FM, KE, on Twitter.
Spice and everything nice. All right. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
25 minutes to 7. As we start looking at the headlines, tomorrow is Friday, and tomorrow we get the Nairobian. 10. Nairobian has been in existence for 10 years now. We've been publishing the Nairobian for 10 years.
How about that?
10 years. 10 years of the Nairobian that is giving you the gossip, scandals, infidelity news, entertainment news, in-depth features, and some analysis as well. it's now embracing a digital-first approach and is predominantly operating as an online publication, ensuring that content reaches a wider audience. If you'd like to subscribe to the Nairobian, just go to epaper.standardmedia.co.ke. That's epaper.standardmedia.co.ke and subscribe to the Nairobian. Stay informed and grab a copy of your Nairobian tomorrow. Your nearest vendor. Hiya, what's on those things? Tell us.
It would appear that the World Bank is warning Ruto on tax, right?
World Bank.
World Bank.
Warning
Yeah.
on tax.
Yes.
The tax kings.
Yes.
And queens and emperors. All right. Let's read about this change of heart.
So, a House Committee and the World Bank have cautioned President William Ruto against his ambitious taxation plan, warning that the country's economy is in bad shape, in case you did not know, and the new measures would sink Kenyans into poverty. But the warning seems to contradict the lawmakers' recommendation to inflate Dr. Ruto's maiden budget by 80.7 billion shillings, a move that is likely to place an extra burden on taxpayers. So you wonder, why talk out of both sides of your mouth is the question. Let's see. A committee on the National Assembly has recommended increasing President William Ruto's maiden budget by 80.7 billion shillings, a move that is likely to put an extra burden on taxpayers. The proposal by the BAC, which is the Budget and Appropriations Committee, means that Dr. Ruto's first budget will rise to 3.679 trillion shillings, up from the 3.599 trillion estimate submitted to Parliament by the National Treasury in April. It would also mean that the Kenya Kwanza administration's maiden budget will be higher by 295.7 billion shillings compared to former President Uhuru Kenyatta's last budget of 3.384 trillion. The committee, in its report to the full House, has proposed to increase the recurrent and development expenditure in the 2023-2024 budget by 56.49 billion and 24.21 billion shillings respectively. If approved, the proposed changes could push the national government's budget, excluding equitable revenue share to counties and public debt service payments, to 2.308 trillion, comprised of 1.5 trillion in the recurrent expenditure and 743 in development expenditure. Counties will get 385.4. Okay, so they're thinking of increasing it. But let's come back to what the World Bank has said, all right? Now, another parliamentary committee, in addition to the World Bank, has cautioned the president against the ambitious taxation plan, saying that the economy is in bad shape. And if anything, you're going to plunge Kenyans deeper into poverty. The president had lined up a number of tax measures in the Finance Bill 2023. World Bank analysts say private consumption could fall in medium term as a result of higher taxation at a time when inflation has already pushed up the cost of goods and services. On the demand side, we're likely to see a slowdown in private consumption, which is obvious, in the medium term due to high taxation. The World Bank's latest Kenya Economic Update report also notes that the high commodity prices triggered by the Ukraine-Russia war has had a negative impact on consumption in 2022 as private sector firms recorded a decline in sales. So essentially, the report, it is not as though somebody called a presser and sat down and said this. The report gave some indicators and said in the medium term, because of 1, 2, 3, Kenyans are likely to spend less. We've also seen a surge in prices of basic goods and commodities. So in this time, 2-3 years, Kenyans will spend less money. So your taxation may not make much sense.
It will not make much sense.
If anything, it will plunge people deeper into poverty.
That budget committee report is also another nonsensical thing. Basically, those two, listen. The National Treasury went to Parliament and said, we would like to spend in the next financial year some 3.59 trillion shillings. That's 3.6 trillion shillings. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The budget-making arm of Parliament, which is this committee, looked at where the money was going to be spent, looked at the projects, decided, no, you people, the amount of money that you want to spend is not enough.
Spend some more.
Spend 81 billion shillings more. Basically, The Ndende Nyoro Committee is telling Parliament to approve a higher budget than what the National Treasury requested for.
Yep.
They want them to spend 3.68 trillion shillings in the next financial year. And yet, at the same time, in those recommendations, they caution against lofty revenue targets. The revenue target is such a nonsensical figure, so 2.6 trillion shillings. And already there are all indicators that this year, the KRA will not meet the initial target for revenue. This year, we are going to collect less than 2 trillion shillings. And yet you're saying that next year, you're going to collect 2.6 trillion shillings. What madness is this?
Premium hot kind.
This guy is banana. There is no talk of cutting back on spending. In fact, National Assembly and the National Treasury agree that the government should continue spending more. Nothing like let's cut back on spending. Nothing like let's look at what money is we are proposing to spend. Look at how much is being allocated to the various departments, because then that's what even, who is it? Is it the Standard Group who looks at those figures and placed those figures? Where is that? This
spend? Front page of the Nation.
Even the Standard, right? Even the Standard is talking about how much, for example, they've increased spending. State House is going to spend some 11 or close to 12 billion shillings in the next financial year. 12 billion shillings.
There you go. Then you want
Office
to ask
of the Prime
what?
Cabinet Secretary, 547 million shillings, and so on and so forth. There's nothing about let's cut back. In fact, the areas where there is some cutting back, areas where they're recommending something less than what had been requested for by the National Treasury include higher education. Universities, capitation for universities is going to be reduced. The Ndende Nyoro Committee is saying, no. You, national government, spend a lot more money, but university capitation, let's cut that back. That's too much. How much you're asking for is too much. Let's not spend so much on university, on higher education. Let people pay out of pocket. But Parliament is going to get 41 billion shillings, which is a higher allocation from the 38.3 billion shillings that it has spent in this financial year. What is Parliament spending 41 billion shillings on? The 41 billion shilling allocation include funds meant for completion of the 8 billion shillings multi-story office block that has been under construction since 2013. That thing where they are in now, they haven't finished paying.
They've not finished building it, or what are you saying?
They are still paying for it.
I don't understand.
They
didn't finish it. See, people are like,
that's what incomplete means.
no. What is incomplete? The building?
And the payments.
Both.
The
in
payments.
terms of construction, has not been completed.
I don't know about construction, but the payments, we're still going to spend some more money on that building. Okay? There's also the National Assembly's Budget and Appropriations Committee wanting PSC to stop any other construction until that office block is completed. Please do not build anything else. Okay? Finish this one. They may have completed, but then have they finished furnishing it?
Furnishing, fittings,
and all those
etc.
things. Yes. Remember, there is the purchase and development of the Center for Parliamentary Studies in Karen, okay? Where they are going to be training people on Parliament and how parliaments work. The office complex is dubbed Bunge Tower. It consists of 331 offices, 26 committee rooms, among other amenities. Speaker and Chairman of the PSC, Wetangula, last November directed the clerk to prepare the schedule of allocation of the 280 offices portion to the National Assembly. Senate, 67 members are going to get 51 offices. So already the building as it is not enough for the members of parliament that we have.
I'm sorry.
But 8 billion shillings.
Excuse me. What's the difference between that one and this one here that they're building here?
That one and this one. Which one?
Harambe Avenue. This one that you said they're still
That's
paying.
the one.
Which one is Bunge Tower again?
That's the one.
It's the same one? Okay.
Bunge Tower is that one.
Is that one? Okay.
It has 331 offices. How many members of parliament do we have? 400 and
400 and what is it? 70?
You know, it's very offensive.
So it's not enough.
No.
Enough.
We need more.
When is it really ever enough? Eric asked that question and we can continue asking that question. There's an extremely offensive picture in the Standard. And even more offensive, the story that follows it. A picture of people sitting in this swanky place on Thika Road. Lovely chairs, lovely table, interesting looking drink. I don't know whether they're fizzy or not. And
it's juice.
Juice. It's called Prayer Day. Given the situation we have in this country, should it not have been a fasting and prayer day?
At the fasting and prayer.
Yes. If you wanted to show that you're serious about...
They had fasted overnight. Now here
Now
they're just meeting to break the fast.
Eric, you know, my mind, I am a student of history, and my mind has gone back to the French Revolution, and I'm looking at the similarities that the French and Kenyans have. In the 1700s, France was considered one of the wealthiest countries in the world. But one of the things that they did, they had a class system. They had something called an estate system, where you put into 3 tiers. The top tier was the clergy, bishops, blah, blah, nobility, etc., etc. Then you had the second tier. You had people who were landowners, etc., etc., etc. Now, of interest, these 2 groups of people comprise something like 2% of that particular country, the population at that time.
Okay.
But they were exempt from tax. Okay. Then the others, town laborers, farmers, peasants, they carried the burden of the tax.
Yes.
They had a problem of food shortages, but the first 2 tiers always had food. These the fellows are the ones who now starved. They rode in their carriages, the lives they lived, they had parties. And remember, the people who worked for them belonged to this third class of people who were what?
The taxpayers.
Yes. Now, we don't have food shortages in the literal sense of the word, but when something is too expensive for you to afford it, it's as good as a shortage. Then there's the last thing that broke this particular camel's back was Louis, the king then, okay, the 15th, 16th. He had absolutism, meaning he ruled the way he saw fit. When you have a situation in a country where parliament, which is supposed to be one of the 3 arms of this particular state that we have, of government, so to speak, kowtowing to the executive, that's absolutism. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that those who don't learn from history are condemned to repeat it. We have a situation where people are starving literally and they don't know. How can the head of state, his deputy, and his ministers call for a prayer meeting amid such opulence? What on earth do you think you are doing? What are you doing? What sort of example do you think you are setting? And all these people, they didn't walk to this hotel. They came in these gas guzzlers. What is it? Amidst all these problems, every move that is made, and then next people go somewhere else for yet another function. Money is being spent, and there are people who do not know what it is they will eat the following day, or even whether they'll survive. Something is really very wrong here.
Following day, City.
I'm being polite.
Okay.
Something is extremely wrong here. And with every passing day, it looks like those who are in power are getting blinder and blinder, and they do not see. When we talked about the dynasty and the hustler, essentially, what Kenya Kwanza introduced was, as people have said, clear class distinction. Not war, just distinction. Now, with the class distinction, you made it easier for people to determine who belongs where.
Yeah.
You know what? You see the situation that we keep talking about? People don't have enough for the day. People are looking for health care affordably. People are looking for school fees. You see that part of the conversation? It's very sensationalist, isn't it?
Sounds sensational, but it isn't.
Yes, but do you know what it is? It is the stuff of conversation for people who are after expediency. That's it. That it is stuff for the conversation. So if you sit here for a moment and listen to the speeches that people give for a better Kenya to make sure that we do, It doesn't mean anything beyond the words that they have spoken. Once the words have dropped, that is it. It is not hard for you to see an individual who cares about the people. It is not difficult. So every time you hear this thing, we need to do this so that Kenya can be saved. That is why, CT, you wonder in chagrin and amazement, why can you now dine in such opulence when there are people who are suffering? It is because of that. That actually it doesn't really get to, you don't see that your responsibility is beyond having these speeches on high towers. If you did care, if it did, let's even say that you cared about your image, then yes, you would have done something like that. Just across the border. Is it not Samia Suluhu the other day when they were celebrating what she said, excuse me, all of you, stop it. All that money we're going to, let's use it to feed children and know that today we have done something for feeding children. Whether she meant it or whether it was just for optics, it worked.
Good optics, though.
Very, very good optics. So in this situation where you are in and you do something like that, right at the cusp of things about to go south, and you do something like that, it is just compounding the thing that I've been saying all this time. If you have a leader or the leadership who cares, you will know. So your surprise is that one of, they're just telling you. Short of opening the mouth and saying, we don't care. They're telling you, by your deeds you shall what?
Know them.
Thank you very much.
Carry on.
Do I have a moment? The Star. Remember there was this story of Kempsa that I mentioned in passing. Why don't I just read a little bit so that we can understand what I was talking about? The Ministry of Health contradicted the Global Fund in the 3.7 billion procurement process. The international donor flagged as irregular a document tabled in a Senate committee shows. The document by suspended Kempsa CEO Terry Ramadhani says the agency extended the tender to supply mosquito nets to consult on a clarification raised by the ministry on inconsistency in technical specifications. He said the clarification was for long-lasting insecticide-treated nets for mass net campaign 2023-2024. The issue raised was that the specifications under insecticide impregnation technology missed the requirements of synergist.
You see those three words you've just read?
Insecticide impregnation
and synergist.
Yes.
Following each other.
Technologies of synergist, piperonyl bactoside. Even I don't know what these things mean. And I'm supposed to be the person who understands these scientific things. God Almighty. Which is, okay, just let me read some that we can all understand. All these things I've read, psycho, toxic, all these things.
Impregnation.
Impregnation. They're inconsistent with specifications that were shared by the Ministry of Health.
Okay.
Forward.
So we get technical, show you that it was.
So the Ministry of Health came up with specifications. Global Fund had their own specification. And is it not global? Who is it?
It is Global Fund.
It's Global Fund.
Yes.
They had their own specification.
Yes, for these nets.
So there was a disagreement over what kind of mosquito nets.
So what you're going to immerse those nets in.
Right.
The issue was not just
treatment.
pesticide, but long-lasting treatment.
Okay.
Yes. So according to this one here, there was a disagreement. And then there were other tenders, there were other people who wanted.
This one here being Terry Ramadhani.
Yeah, Terry Ramadhani had written a letter explaining these things. It's now before the Senate.
Okay.
So in short, this matter of Kempsa has only just begun. If we thought it had ended, it hasn't. Okay? Yesterday we heard the PS, Dr. Mburu, saying this and that and pointing fingers at her CS and pointing fingers at the other gentleman who was also co-PS, Tum. This thing hasn't ended. This one, we will hear more of it.
So much drama. I'd like to hear the Global Fund story as well.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I have questions about Global Fund itself.
And the people
I don't know what
who
the
work
question
there.
is. I don't know what the question is, but I have a question about this whole murky waters.
Why don't I
and
ask
the
the
role
question?
that the Global
Let me ask
Fund
one of the
will
questions.
Please
Did
ask.
they have a preferred provider for these nets?
You have asked a question that I was going to ask because Global Fund has an office in Kenya.
Yeah.
If it is run by Kenyans, there is no difference between what you're hearing is happening in the Ministry of Health and Kempsa and Global Fund. No difference whatsoever. It's a story about interest clashing. Yes.
This probe will go nowhere again. Just don't hold your breath. The Senate committee is summoning everybody left, right, and center. There will be no report.
Drama.
There will be zero report. Remember, in the COVID one, one of the Senate committee members of the health committee then was the senator for Narok, Ledamo Lekina. And at the beginning of their probe, he came here and he said, let me tell you, my friend. You know,
was the governor of Makueni not in that thing as well?
Yeah. In the other scandals,
Yes.
I was not a parliamentarian.
But now that I'm there,
I am there.
Wait
and see.
We're going to name names.
To jail people. COVID billionaires.
Bim, you did not hear.
Senator
Ledamo Lekina is still in this committee.
We had the governor of Makueni, who then was senator, and he talked tough. Said, findings. You guys, you've seen nothing. Wait. What did we hear? Gobbledygook. When that finding came out, you wondered, what on earth is this now?
Zero. This editorial by the Standard is quite interesting.
It is very.
So the Standard is saying, on Tuesday, Interior CS Kithure Kindiki launched yet another phase of exhumation of victims of what now has to become known as the Shakahola massacre. The launch, as odd as it sounds, was accompanied, he's launching exhumation of graves. Like,
it's like
he's cutting a ribbon. Now we can
it's
start.
Like he's launching the safari rally.
Imagine.
Yes.
Take off.
It was accompanied by equally odd pronouncements, among them that the massive ranch will be converted into a national monument, an entire 5,000 acres. Since his first visit, Professor Kindiki has made a raft of pronouncements which have added swell to the information spectre of the tragedy. His first act on landing at the ranch was to declare it a disturbed area and banning all people except himself and authorized persons from accessing the scene. He elected to run the exhumation, rescue, and postmortem in phases, citing the vastness of the ranch, weather conditions, personnel, and resources required for the job. He has continued to go there every other week to launch one thing or the other, to expand the scope, and to issue new pronouncements. In the meantime, the official inquiry that the CS promised, and which was delivered by the president, has been stopped by the courts. When he appeared before the team, the CS gave a moving narration of the possible turn of events at the ranch, including how Pastor Paul Mackenzie issued orders on hapless victims to be clobbered to death. A few days ago, the same Kithure Kindiki put the judiciary on notice against releasing Mackenzie, warning that if the preacher were to be released, the government would haul him back to jail to spend a lifetime there. He is inarguably a well-trained lawyer and a professor of law at that, but he's also an advocate of the High Court and high-ranking lawyer who has practiced all the way to the Supreme Court and even beyond borders at the ICC. He knows all too well that Kenya runs on rule of law and not edicts or empty pronouncements. He is instead electing to blind himself from the reality and to speak from both sides of his own mouth. He's issuing orders on the opening up of the ranch and building of roads to nowhere in a bid to recover more bodies. In the meantime, families of missing persons continue to agonize on the fate of their loved ones. By all accounts, the operation, as announced and framed by the CS, is an open-ended one. No one apart from the CS knows when this operation will end. He's the only one who knows. He's launching. Is he launching phase 2 of 5? Is he launching phase 2 of 17? Nobody knows. And the Standard today, the editors of the Standard are saying,
enough.
Boss, can you give us a clear roadmap? So when are we expecting that you'll finish exhuming this, that you'll finish identifying the bodies, that we will move to the next phases of this operation? You can't just be keeping us in a dance here. Hapana. Something more needs to happen. Hatuwezi kopali hiyo maneno. Have you filled out your tax returns? You should. End of the month is coming and KRA is telling you go to itax.kra.go.ke and file your tax returns by the end of June. Good morning. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto has urged manufacturers to look beyond Kenya and the East African region in the setting up of the investment. Speaking when he presided over the launch of Isuzu electro-deposition paint plant in Nairobi, President Ruto emphasized the vast business potential that Africa offers and urged manufacturers to exploit. President Ruto emphasized the need for manufacturers to broaden their horizons and consider other countries in addition to Kenya. President Ruto further encouraged the Isuzu East Africa and other investors to deepen their investment in the country by moving into Tier 1 component manufacturing and rapidly graduating to fully integrated manufacturing plants. Now, the Parliamentary Budget Committee will today be presenting the budget estimate for the financial year 2023-2024 before the August House for its second reading. According to the report submitted by the committee chairperson Ndindi Nyoro, it is estimated that the first budget of President William Ruto will be 4.4 trillion shillings, 1 trillion shillings more compared to the last financial year, which was 3.324 trillion shillings. Nyoro said the budget for this financial year has increased due to the rise in cost of living and the government's move to prioritize ongoing projects.
Madam Speaker, Kenya is part of the global picture of the economy. And what has happened, Madam Speaker, is that every time the Fed raises interest rates, we have had capital flights from all the economies of the world, and especially hitting even hard the emerging economies.
In the estimates, the national government has been allocated the highest amount of money in their budget, which is 2.3 trillion shillings, while the county governments are allocated 385.4 billion shillings and Parliament 41 billion shillings. However, other sectors that will get huge allocation in this financial year are for development, which has been allocated 718.9 billion shillings, and Government Development Fund will get 850 billion shillings. The Ministry of Education will also receive a large allocation, which is 304 billion shillings. According to the estimate, 775 billion shillings has been allocated to pay off the national debt. The judiciary will receive 23 billion shillings, while State House has been allocated 7.3 billion shillings. Similarly, to 9 billion shillings have been allocated for the affordable housing project. Regarding tax collection and expectation, the National Treasury expects that KRA will collect 2.57 trillion shillings to finance the budget, which means there may be a shortfall of about 700 billion shillings compared to more than 1 trillion shillings in the previous financial year.
The path of fiscal consolidation is the path that we have taken, and we have decided that we are not going to dig deeper into the hole of borrowing. And that is why, Madam Speaker, we have climbed down this financial year from last year, which had a fiscal deficit of 1.1 trillion. We have brought that down to 718 billion Kenya shillings. And Madam Speaker, currently, we are now at a stable 4.4% of deficit as a share of our GDP, Madam Speaker.
And Azimio leader Raila Odinga has told Kenyans to brace for a return of the weekly protest, citing Kenya Council's failure to listen to their grievances and lower the cost of living. Speaking at Chungwa House, Odinga asked Kenyans to cooperate with Azimio when it gives direction on how to oppose the finance bill that will be tabled in Parliament tomorrow.
Kesho wataweka hiyo finance bill kwa bunge. Alhamisi ambayo inakuja watasoma bajeti. Baada ya kusoma bajeti wataleta hiyo finance bill. Wakileta hiyo finance bill na hii tutapiga parapanda. Sawa? Tutapiga parapanda. Tunataka kuona kama kila mahali, Kisii, Nyamira, Migori, Wajir, Mombasa, Nairobi.
And the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights has kicked off a countrywide public participation exercise to collect views of Kenyans on the proposed Intersex Persons Bill of 2023. KNCHR Director Ann Okutoi said that once enacted into law, the bill will provide for the recognition, protection and safeguarding of intersex persons' human rights in Kenya. Speaking in Siaya Town during an exercise that brought together government and non-government actors, Okutoi said that the law will further provide for equalization of opportunities, affirmative action and non-discrimination of intersex persons. She said the bill wants to address the whole criminal justice system and processes, including access to justice and enhancing rights of any intersex person that is in conflict with the law. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Asada. Good morning.
Spice FM,
A bit
Nakuru.
of traffic on the Thika Superhighway this morning, getting through towards the CBD. It's coming just past Survey, and we're seeing that Kiambu Road has done magic. Like, here none, and then here there is. A lot of traffic, almost at the DCI this morning. And I don't know how many lanes we are at, but it is the magic that happens on Kiambu Road that's going to stick there for about 2 hours. So, you know, if you didn't take my advice and get off Kiambu Road, you might be stuck there for a while. Or use an alternative. Because if you go round and use Limu Road and then come out towards Muthaiga, you should be all right, at least for now, before it packs up into something else. All right, the Thika Superhighway, we've looked at that. James Gishore is what we're seeing packing up right now, getting out towards Waiyaki Way. We're seeing some traffic coming off of Kangunda Road today, touching on Outer Ring. Manyanja is also packing up. Let's look at North Airport Road, which has some bumper-to-bumper traffic as heading out towards the Eastern Bypass. Speaking of bypasses, the Southern Bypass looks pretty good. There's an option for you to use to get into the city longer, but without traffic. Let's see what it pans out to be at about 7:30. But for now, it looks pretty good. Let's talk Spice FM KE on Twitter.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to...
Eighth day of June 2023. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. If you're just joining us on Spice FM or online on YouTube and Facebook, or if you're joining us on KTN Home, karibu sana. Imagine turning your phone into an emergency panic button or alarm system at whatever location you're in. Can you imagine that? Well, it's possible if you download the 911 Group app. It's an excellent and an all-in-one security access solution that you can't afford to not install in your mobile phone. In this day and age, you must be ready at all times and be armed with your personal security button at your fingertips. And that is what the 911 Group app is all about. The 911 Group app is able to accurately identify, locate, and track the position of the person in distress with precision, and thereby deploy quick response to the situation. In case of a security emergency, roadside rescue services, or medical emergencies, you're absolutely covered. So just go to the Play Store or App Store and download 911 Group app. So what basically you have is you're stuck somewhere. You open your app, you press the panic button, it goes into their command center. They can then track your GPS location and know this is where this person is and they're in distress, and they respond to that. What better way of doing it? It's just downloading the app. Download the app, and if you'd like to get more information, you can call 911 Group on 0710-537911. That's 0710-537911. It's Justice Thursdays. And so we're going to have a Justice Thursday conversation. We're joined by two officers of the court. One is the Honorable Esther Kimilu, and the other one is the Honorable Martha Nanzushi, both from the traffic court in Milimani, Nairobi. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. Good morning.
Karibuni sana, and thank you very much for joining us this morning. We're going to have a justice conversation around matters of traffic. And as we do that, both of you know Sarit Center.
Yes.
In Westlands.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. How long has Sarit Center been in existence, if you're just to take a guess, Esther?
Maybe 20 years.
20? Okay, that's a good one. Martha?
I'll give it more than 20 years, about 25.
25. Okay.
All right, I'll take your 20 and I'll take your 25. I put them together and I remove 5. And we've got 40. Sarit Center celebrating 40 years of being in existence. Imagine that. It's 40 years of delivering great experiences, great shopping, great retail outlets. And they're saying, now that we've turned 40, how about you come on down and spend some money between 1 and 2 p.m. every day? And if you spend 2,040 shillings, you go down, you spin the wheel, and you could win fantastic things. A cruise. Imagine a cruise right about now. Sounds really good. A car, restaurant vouchers, shopping vouchers, all sorts of fantastic stuff. 2,040 is what you spend. Sarit Center will allow you get into a draw and then see what you would win. Spice FM is also saying, let's help Sarit celebrate a little bit. Tell us what you would spend 2,040 shillings on. Talk to us on our socials, Spice FM KE on YouTube and Facebook, and you could win a hamper by the end of the show. Sarit is 40. Birthday.
Sarit, your city. City?
Mm-hmm.
Now that we're talking about Sarit, your city, why don't you give two guests the day's proverb?
Yes, our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the country of Malawi. Whose capital is?
I don't know. Blantyre, Lilongwe.
One is the commercial capital, the other one is the administrative capital.
Yes.
Ladies, do you know which is which?
I am not certain.
It is okay not to be certain.
Yes.
You're also not certain?
But I can make a wild guess.
Yes, Lilongwe is the capital. Is it administrative or is it commercial?
Lilongwe is commercial, Blantyre is administrative. It's the other way around.
Yes.
Yes, so if it was out of 100, you'd have gotten 50. You're half right.
I'm half right.
As if it weren't bad enough to fall, the ladder lands on top of you.
As if it weren't bad enough to fall, the ladder lands on top of you. Hey, this one. Honorable Nanzushi, what do you make of this proverb? What are the Malawians saying? What's your interpretation of it?
Double tragedy.
Very well put.
Yeah, double tragedy. How about you, Honorable Camille?
Luck might be once, but not twice. My guess. Yeah.
You may get lucky once.
Yeah.
But chances of getting lucky twice?
Yes.
Limited. Let's talk about the traffic court, because both of you are from the traffic court in Kilimani. I don't know who goes first. Just give us an introduction of what is the traffic court.
Okay. A traffic court is a court established to deal with matters traffic. Matters traffic range from roadsides, along the roads, and anywhere where a motorist is involved, even outside the roads, in estates and all over the place. So long as it's involving vehicles, bicycles, even hard cats, it's a traffic issue.
Okay.
Even Mkokoteni case is a traffic case?
Mkokoteni case is a traffic case. They use the road. They use the public roads. They are on the roads.
Oh.
Yes.
So, does that therefore mean that if I trip and fall
on the road,
it's a traffic case?
You are not motorized. We're talking about anything that is motorized or an object that is moving.
Mechanically motorized.
Yes, mechanically motorized.
Okay, Mkokoteni isn't mechanically motorized.
It is.
It uses human energy.
It uses human energy.
In the absence of that human being pulling it or pushing it, that thing won't move.
It has wheels. It has wheels. Yes. It's a wheeler. But using human energy.
You know, I'm going to be difficult on this one because deliberately, I have feet. Helps with my locomotion.
So you're a pedestrian.
I'm a pedestrian.
And something happens to you
I'm
on
a mobile
the road.
being. Something happens to me on the road.
Yes.
Yes. It's not traffic.
The one that does not involve the motorized items wouldn't be traffic. You can fall on the road.
So if two pedestrians, for example, knock each other on the road and one falls,
it's not traffic.
You can't take them to the traffic
No,
court.
it is just human accident or they were fighting. It is another situation,
Right.
not really traffic.
Okay.
Yes.
So who brings cases to the traffic courts?
We receive cases by from the Director of Public Prosecutions. It's the DPP who institutes all cases. 99% of the cases that come to courts are instituted by the DPP, apart from maybe the 1% that we have the private prosecution. But in traffic cases, the institutor is the Director of Public Prosecutions.
Which means that all traffic offences are criminal offences. All traffic cases are criminal in nature.
Yes, they are.
Okay. Does that include insurance cases? Or are those not traffic cases?
Insurance cases are civil in nature. Those are civil claims. So those are addressed by the civil courts, not the traffic courts.
Maybe in addition, I can say that if you contravene any law of Kenya, we are guided by the Criminal Procedure Code.
Okay.
And we have the Penal Code.
Okay.
So if you drive without insurance, that's a criminal offense. So you will come to a criminal court, a traffic court, and to be guided by the Criminal Procedure Code.
Yani, you drive without driving license.
It is criminal.
It's criminal. I'm in the same court as people who've shot other people, killed people, because those are also crimes. Same court. Yes. Except this one now, it's because I didn't have... Hey, isn't that a bit harsh, surely?
No, it isn't.
And that is why the Chief Justice Emeritus Mutunga decided to now make it a bit softer that, okay, the traffic offenders, let us have a court for the traffic offenders. Let us not put them together with the murders and the robberies.
Yes.
That's how the traffic court came up.
Okay, color it a little bit for us so that we have some understanding of what then makes up a traffic offense. We're saying now that it would be criminal. Obviously, it's criminal in nature. So maybe give us a few examples of what kind of cases then come to the court, who's doing what, who then is charging these individuals for having done what.
We have a Traffic Act, we have Insurance Act, we also have regulations, and under the Act, various offences have been stipulated, ranging from causing death by dangerous driving, driving without due care, causing obstruction, dropping passengers at a place not designated as a bus stop, even failing to wash your car. A dirty car is a traffic offense.
Oh, and having torn seats is an offense.
And even driving without your driving license, without your insurance, for public service, without wearing the blue uniform for drivers, maroon uniform for conductors, and if the SACCO has requested to be given a special uniform, failing to wear that special uniform requested by your SACCO.
At this rate, you're going to tell me if my car is not fully paid for, I shouldn't be driving it.
No, not at all.
You know, there are those offenses, like you've just started going there, Martha. There are those offenses that people don't consider offenses, right? And I think it's important that today we then concentrate on those ones. We all know if a police officer stops you and they ask you for a driving license, if it's not valid, that's an offense. If you don't have it with you, is it an offense? It's an offense, right?
Yes,
you should have
failing to carry
a driving license is an offense.
Yes. It's
Failing to display an insurance
is an offense.
on the windscreen is an offense, even if you have it in your pocket.
Why are there offenses? And I have it, I just don't have it with me.
But the law says that you must display it at a place where it's visible. But it does not say exactly that put it at your front windscreen. It must be at a place visible.
To who?
The police officers, because they're not supposed to come into your car. They're supposed to see it while they inspect the vehicle round.
No.
You're also supposed to display any other, like for TLB, that is transport licenses, TVS, tourist vehicle. You're supposed to display such that when you are on the road, everybody is aware that this is a TVS, this is a PSV, and this is a private vehicle. And further to that, you're also supposed to print address and contact of that TVS or public service.
Write it out on the
at a place that we can read you
that thing you write on the door.
This vehicle belongs to Eric Latif, PO Box, blah, 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 blah. The tire weight is this.
The passengers allowed car.
It is
The
also an
capacity.
offense for failing to print that the speed limit, that's
80.
80
And
kph.
sticking it on the vehicle.
Yes, it is an offense.
Okay. Hey.
Okay. You also spoke about not having torn seats and then also failure to wash your vehicle.
Yes.
Are offenses, criminal offenses.
It is a traffic offense.
In the Traffic Act.
So let's start with a dirty vehicle. Okay. So what is the threshold of a clean vehicle and a dirty vehicle? If I'm brought before your court and I'm being charged with driving a dirty vehicle, what is dirty?
Dirty is a vehicle that you've driven through mud and it is splashed all over your vehicle and your number plate is obscured. That means in case of anything, the police cannot follow you. Nobody can track and get to see the number plate is not visible. And then it is that vehicle that will make people turn in traffic illegally in chafu. You know, actually, my understanding of that law is that you are causing discomfort or to other people. It's an ISO.
Oh,
other
okay. So
road
the
users.
offense is other people
on any
having
road.
to look at your car and it's unpleasant to them.
And but most especially that at that point your number plate is not visible.
Okay.
Number plates must be visible at all.
So a basic threshold there is the visibility of the number plate.
Yes.
That's the number one basic threshold.
Yes, your number plate must be visible.
Because many roads in this country are not tarmacked.
Yes.
Okay? Many people will drive on the not tarmacked road during rainy season. Obviously, that car will be dirty. There'll be a traffic police officer down the road who will then stop all the cars on that road and accuse all of you of driving dirty vehicles.
Meanwhile, the road.
If somebody is brought then before your court, in such circumstances, what do you use to determine the threshold of their guilt? I mean, is it just, you're driving a car that has not been washed? That's an offense.
But if you come to court and the charges are read to you and you plead guilty to driving a vehicle that is dirty, then the court will proceed to convict.
Wait. During the rainy season, even these delightfully tarmac roads of ours, unfortunately, the walkways tend to be muddy. There's no curb road, there's nothing. So when it rains, the water that then gets to be domiciled on the road is muddy. So all you need is another vehicle to splash your vehicle. So if we leave Standard Group and we head towards GM, there's some policemen who I think live there. You will come across police officers, and I know they're traffic police officers. Now, if they were to stop me, and my car was fine when I came to work, but it got splashed as I left. When I come to court and you ask me to plead, what am I allowed to? Because, yes, it is dirty, but am I allowed to explain that, this dirt, it's not as though it's been here for a week. This is what happened.
Just now.
Maybe that will take us to plea taking.
Okay.
Yes. And plea taking.
What is plea taking?
Plea taking is a procedure where a charge sheet, the charge sheet has been drawn. Whatever they are accusing you of, the story is reduced into a charge sheet. And of course, every offense must be defined by the law. So this offense is now defined by the law, and they put particulars that Eric was found driving a dirty vehicle. And if you remember Michuki rules,
yes,
there was a regulation that every motor vehicle must have a small dustbin, such that we do not have bed bags and other nuisance in the vehicle.
Banana peels.
That can even cause accident. And assuming that you are going to work and you just brush off a dirty car, or even at the parking outside there, somebody doesn't wash their car, then you just alight and you're rushing for work, then the car is dirty. The threshold, of course, will be common sense. It is on a rain day. Then you mitigate and say, Your Honor, my car is dirty because it was a rain day. We have these sand harvesters who obscure the number plate for a purpose. We bridge these trucks
in excess of weight.
Yes, they obscure for a purpose. It is not really just as a police officer would just stop because your car is dusty. But we have people who will smear even mud on the number plate and even address to secure that when you are stopping, they escape. Then when you are running after them, you are running after what? Because identification of motor vehicles in Kenya is only through number plate. And that number plate must be placed in a manner that it can be read. It is also an offense for obscuring the number plate.
Look at it from the reverse. You are knocked on the road by a vehicle, but unfortunately, because of the condition of the vehicle, you are not able to clearly get the registration of that vehicle. How do you access your justice?
Okay. Looking at the range of these offences that, that are then defined, I would assume then that the traffic court is one very, very busy court.
Yes.
So like through the day, these are cases, what we want to call quick adjudication cases, or are they cases that go over time? Because I can imagine obstruction, this is something, and somebody says, well, all right, if you're going to take me to court, let's go. In terms of dispensing of these cases, how do we see them going through the courts?
These are very quick dispensing cases, because in a day we will have about 100 pleas that come in. Out of these 100 pleas, my colleague will talk about the notice to attend court.
Right.
80% are the notices the police give on the road. 20% are the ones that now they are arrested and actually placed in custody and brought to court. And I will tell you that 99% of those who are arrested on the road come to court, plead guilty, and the matter is concluded.
How is the matter concluded? You would pay a fine?
Your fine, or you're discharged with a warning, or you're given a suspended sentence, you're warned, and they are processed through the system.
Right.
Yes.
Have you ever asked yourself what it is? The majority of the people who come to court just say guilty, 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 guilty.
I think for
do you ask yourself, why would somebody commit an offense, then just come to court and accept, I'm guilty, and then you just find them and they go?
The one thing I know, people don't like going to court. And for sure, procedures and technicalities of courts are an impediment, I can say, to justice.
They're tedious.
They are tedious because whatever you just have admitted on the road and you have penalized, it comes in a procedure. Because our laws provide that police are enforcers and detectors of the offense, even civil person, even yourself. But the charge sheet must come to court. The charges must come to court through the DPP because it's a person who is empowered by the Constitution of Kenya to institute and terminate any offense. And therefore, because of the procedures, you are arrested at 8. The police have drafted the charges. They have informed the DPP that we have arrested Esther along Mombasa Road for charges of causing obstruction. Then the DPP will say, let me see the statements. How did it occur? As a read through, time is still running, and Esther is in waiting base somewhere.
And Esther was actually going to Naivasha or Nakuru.
Or I was coming for this
interview. Coming to
I was coming for this interview. So now time is still lapsing, and before they make the decision, my day is already spent. And that is now why during the Emeritus Justice Mutunga, we introduced the notice to attend court. So in case somebody is arrested, they are notified, attend court on Monday, or they even ask you, what day do you think mostly you are available? Because if you tell me to attend court on Friday, and Friday have other commitments, can you allow me to come on Monday? You can also get a cash bill from police. They have a receipt. So you can now pay a cash bill from in the respective police station. Of course, the cash bill and the notice to attend court will have the charges. So as you go away, you'll know on Monday I'm coming to take plea on this with a specified court and time. And as I said, court procedures are a bit tedious. And I would rather just...
What about instant justice? Eric told us a story of when he was on one of his many walkabouts. He was going to Arusha. And I don't know what he did. He tells us that maybe he was above the speed limit by one.
Yes, in fact, half.
Nothing, very
speed
minimal.
limit is 50.
And he was at 52.
I drove past a bump. Of course, the car accelerated
exactly.
a bit.
Yes. On the road, madam stopped him. Unaenda wapi? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
She removed a gadget. What you have done
He's a Tanzanian police officer.
Tanzanian police officer. What you have done costs this amount. Pay on the spot. Pay money. Receipt. Carry on. Done.
Yes. In Kenya, we have instant fines. But our biggest challenge is our laws.
Litigation.
Police will arrest you. Remember, the DPP must be informed.
Yeah.
So how will the DPP be, before we inform the DPP, now that causes delay. We are still, together with our stakeholders, we are working on that, such that we on board. If you are arrested along Mombasa Road, instantly the police notifies the DPP. And DPP notifies me
the magistrate.
Because we have virtual courts.
Yeah.
And I now fine you where you are. Because only a court can impose fine in Kenya.
Only a court can impose a fine.
According
unless
to
that,
Kenyan law.
That payment is going to be called something else other than a fine. Another penalty. But if it's a fine, then all the stakeholders.
It has to go from the enforcer to the prosecutor to the judicial officer.
Yes. Then back now to the litigant.
To the
and you're
offender.
told, okay, now because you can't be fined without the court listening to your mitigation.
Right.
Yeah.
It is a rainy day. I am sorry. I was rushing to hospital. I have a patient in the car. So I may decide not to fine you, to be lenient with you, to let you go.
But it's only you who can do that.
It's only me who has that latitude of telling you, okay, don't repeat that offense.
You mean the police person cannot tell me where? Don't do it again. Go. They don't have authority to do that.
They can do, but when it comes to fine the penalty, it's the court that has the discretion when it comes to the penalty.
So police can forgive you.
The police can forgive you.
They're looking at this and they're enforcing and they understand. But the police cannot tell you, to a fine here, 2,000.
Yes, the police can tell you that.
Yes, you're fine.
It may not be official.
You'll be buying breakfast for somebody because you'll not get a receipt.
You'll not get a receipt for that.
Leta 10,000 you niko tu na tano, shika tano na unisamee. Then you have given somebody money for free. Whether demanded, it is you who has given money.
But it is a project that we are all working on, and we are really hoping that it's going to come through very soon. It's going to be very easy to everybody, because probably if you're traveling and you don't really have time to go to court, we tried a pilot on Kiambu
things
Road.
happen. This is how it happens. You are traveling. You want to avoid this inconvenience. Yes, you accept. I oversped. I had actually escaped my mind or whatever. Oh yeah, my car is dirty because where I live. I've just joined the highway. Surely.
Going to work.
Yes.
I mean, this is what has happened, but let's discuss this after the break. 27 minutes to 8. This morning on this Justice Thursday, we're having a conversation about operations of the traffic court. And we are joined by two officers of that court, the Honorable Esther Kimilu and the Honorable Martha Nanzushi, our magistrates of the traffic court in Milimani, Nairobi. We are discussing that. Have you filed your tax returns? You must do that. Now, that's the other arm of just making sure that you live by the rule of law. You are required as an individual taxpayer to file your tax returns by the end of a financial year. End of financial year is end of June. You have until the end of June to go to your KRA portal and file your tax returns. Don't worry, you have not had an income, just go and file nil returns. Of course, you have to demonstrate how they are nil. If you've had an income, go and then file the income, and if there is tax to be paid, remit the tax. Just go to itax.kra.go.ke. File your tax returns.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Bro, the game is about to start. Let's go. Yeah. Just give me a minute, man. Malize. What's up? Who are you chatting with? I'm just filing my returns, then we bounce. Because I hope you remember the deadline is June 30th. The game will start, banner. Where it doesn't take time. And yep, I'm done. That was fast. Show me how you've done yours, cause I don't want to pay any penalty. Just log into itax.kra.go.ke and file your returns. And if you don't know how to, just go to KRA's YouTube page and watch a tutorial. It's that easy. Allah, filing returns is easier than cooking. Easy peasy, msay.
Kenya Revenue Authority reminds all PIN holders to file their 2022 tax returns on or before 30th of June 2023. For assistance, call 0711 099 999 or email callcenter@kra.go.ke. You can also visit any of the KRA service centers or any Huduma center countrywide. Kenya Revenue Authority. Tulipe ushuru, tujitegemee.
All right, clear conditions in Nairobi, highs of 25 and lows of 13. We'll see highs of 26 in a partly cloudy Nakuru, and it's 12 degrees and partly cloudy in Nyeri, highs of 24 and highs of 25 in Eldoret, where it's partly cloudy at 13. Mostly cloudy at 24 in Mombasa, and it's cloudy at 25 in Malindi. It's 20 and cloudy in Kisumu. We'll see highs of 27 in Kakamega. At 18, it's cloudy in Kampala, highs of 27, and at 24, mostly cloudy in Dar es Salaam, going to highs of 29. 12 and cloudy in Johannesburg, highs of 21, and it's still raining in Lagos at 25. We'll see highs of 29. 31 will be the high in a cloudy Kinshasa at 24.
Spice up your life.
So this is Langata Road, heavy traffic all the way from the barracks out towards the junction, towards Raila Odinga Way, and then through towards the Thika Super, rather towards Mombasa Road, right there at the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. So that's heavy. Aerodrome Road is an option for you to get through to the junction with Upper Hill, but you have to check on that. It's busy now on the Thika Super Highway. I told you that it's going to be very busy on Kiambu Road. It's going to continue like that for some time from all that we see right now. All right, Limuru Road, also busy. It's coming in all the way from United Nations Avenue, further ahead from the Village Market. Heavy traffic on Gong Road this morning as well. Let's look at then Naivasha Road, Gitanga Road, heading out towards Mzima Springs and then touching on James Gisha Road. That has started in full form. Where are you this morning? Are you stuck somewhere? Talk to us on Spice FM, KE on Twitter as we keep things moving this morning.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Magistrates of the Traffic Court in Milimani, Esther Kimilu and the Honorable Martha Nanzushi. On this Justice Thursday, we are talking about operations of the traffic court. We all know there are very, very many traffic offences, ranging from the most obvious ones to including, insurance, driving license, you don't have a number plate, you have a fake number plate, all those ones, to the ones that we're being told today, driving a dirty car, driving a car with torn seats, driving a car with no seat belts, all those ones, very many offences. Now, the thing is, what people encounter on the road, and that process of traffic offense has been committed on a road, and justice happens in a court, and in between there's a prosecutor, like you're explaining, and many people just see that as an inconvenience. Yes, it's a traffic offense. Yes, I want to admit guilt. Yes, I'm willing to pay the penalty for it, but the inconvenience of it, just like Honorable Esther, you were saying, you are traveling. Let's say you're traveling many kilometers out of town. You are arrested. You're coming from Nairobi. You're going to Nakuru, to Eldoret. You're going to Kitale, or you're even going to Turkana, but you're arrested in Naivasha. And you have to now deal with the traffic police officers at the Naivasha base, the prosecutor in Naivasha, the judicial officer in Naivasha. Even if you're given this notice to attend court, can you choose the court to go to?
Well, an offense is dealt with within the jurisdiction, territorial jurisdiction,
where the offense
occurred. There is also that proposal amongst our stakeholders that if I am a resident of Mombasa and I'm arrested along the expressway in Nairobi, can I be allowed to take plea in Mombasa? That is a topic of discussion, but as it is now, if you commit an offense in Naivasha, you are supposed to be handled by the court in Naivasha.
So even a notice to attend court basically tells you, we can let you go with this notice, go to Turkana, but on such and such a date, come back to Naivasha.
Yes. They can also, only that people might not be aware, you can take plea through a representative. So long as it is a plea of guilty. Like, for example, you can send to your lawyer, you can send a friend, you can send whoever is nearby. Like, I'm traveling and offense has occurred in Mombasa. I really do not have to go back to Mombasa. I can call a lawyer and tell them, kindly represent me to court on this day and please enter a plea of guilty. Okay. The challenge with the plea of otherwise is that if you plead not guilty, how will that representative be handled? So the only way is I'm sending somebody with a plea of guilt, just the way the notice at the reverse outlines that you enter a plea of guilty. Then that person, because a fine must be paid, my representative will remain in court until I pay.
Should be ready to pay the fine.
Judiciary, we don't receive cash. We only pay through the bank, through the Mpesa and through the bank. Once the plea is taken, we generate invoice for you. So using that invoice, whoever is in court on my behalf, they will now send me that invoice number. And even from Washington DC, I can pay the fine.
Right.
Yes.
So then, is it imaginable that the system would be circular in that, and it just as saying, if it's something that's being discussed, you're on the way to Mombasa, so you can actually get what maybe in some of the other nations is called a ticket. You get a ticket, you can then log it in online and appear in whatever court. But because the system is digitized and everybody's working in tandem, it can show up in another court, and I can show up with my ticket and say, look, here I am. I was charged somewhere in Naivasha, but here I am in Mombasa, and I can turn up at court. Is that something that you would want to see in the future, whereby so that you don't have one court overburdened with so many things at the same time, and people can go ahead on their business? It's not like they killed anybody, really.
Absolutely, that would be very, very nice, because people will access justice from their point. The other challenge is plea taking virtual, because if I take that plea of you in the house and I said, come on, you have to pay 5,000, then you disappear on me. The exchequer will tell Esther, you have a responsibility to collect revenue through fines. And on this day, this document show Martha was to pay 5,000. Martha has not paid. What have you done? And Martha goes Muteja on me.
Sure. I guess then it's a systemic thing.
So,
it's a system issue.
It's a system issue.
Yeah.
And we are really working with all the stakeholders, including service providers like Safaricom, for Mpesa, and even Airtel, and NTSA, Registrar of Persons, such that we have your details on our palm. Right,
because if in another country, for example, you got a ticket, it doesn't matter where you go, it's going to show up in the system, and you can't really run away from it.
And actually, we are working on that system, even to interlink with Kenya Revenue, such that if you don't pay the fine, you'll never renew your license.
And it reflects that you have, KRA reflects that actually you owe somebody somewhere. You need to go and clear with them.
But is this then not a problem that will not be resolved through what we're discussing here, but rather considering that at the earliest possible time, our judicial system teaches our citizens some of these things? I do not know what sort of communication budget the judiciary has, but imagine a situation where the things we're talking about here are taught. It's a favorite topic of mine, by the way. At primary level, secondary level. And it's one of those compulsory courses at the university. Or in a tertiary college. Meaning, you can't say you don't know because you are constantly being informed about it. So you are aware. But in our case, this thing hits you when you're an adult.
Yes.
And you're never really sure which is which, because one, we're afraid of the police. So the policeman stops you. Half the time, you're not even sure what it is you've been stopped for, but you are afraid.
Because you don't know.
Yes, so your immediate thought is to get out of this inconvenience. So if a shortcut suggestion is hinted at, you're more likely to take it. Whereas if the law is taught, or people are introduced, just the basics, you then understand not only why the law is there, but the benefits of it. Because these things have benefits.
Yes.
They're not just there to make your life difficult. These laws exist because there's some good to be derived. But half the time, if you tell me, I know why it is good for my car to be clean, I also know why I should have a seatbelt.
I think we have a role as judiciary and as stakeholders to create awareness and road safety, because at the end of the day, if you are driving a vehicle without insurance and it happens that you are involved in a road traffic accident and somebody by bad luck lose their life, and the traffic court will handle the traffic, the negligence and the your recklessness, but this person will still go to civil court to seek compensation for their material damage, for the death. And woe unto you that you do not have insurance, and a judgment is now passed on you to compensate this person with 2 million, and you have nothing.
I fully concur with the suggestion of civic education, educating the members of public, because sometimes we face a situation where you look at it and you're telling yourself, if this person had known, because you're here because you don't have insurance. How much does it cost to get a third-party insurance? And how much is the fine you're going to pay, which now you've pleaded guilty and you must pay. But
and still get
that insurance. So if this person knew, would they have gone for the insurance with these 7,000 shillings and gotten their third-party insurance and made their life, as in protected themselves and other people with that insurance? Or now pay the state the fine and still go back, because if you go back to the road and you still don't have it, you still be arrested. And I heard the other day somebody came to my court and told me, a truck driver, mimi nilipigwa fine Bungoma, nililipa tena so I was not sure why you're telling me alipigwa fine Bungoma, nilishikwa na nikalipa. So why am I being arrested again? Yet I was already arrested for this offense and I already paid fine. So I told him, okay, this truck, you are coming from Uganda, is you arrested in Bungoma. You didn't have, he was charged for having, failing to maintain parts and equipment of the vehicle.
Okay.
Yes. The seats were not in good condition.
Okay.
Yes. So he paid his fine in Bungoma court. But he still did not make good the offense. So when he came to Nairobi, he was arrested again and charged with the same offense. And I told him, by the way, if you move on to Mariakani with the same condition, they will still arrest you in Mariakani and you will still go to Mariakani court and pay. So if this person knew better, they would deal with the situation instead of now paying a second, because I told him you have to pay fine now that you pleaded guilty. You don't have
again, and you must go and now repair your seats before you proceed.
If you don't repair your seat before you proceed, the next traffic officer will arrest you for the same offense.
That is unfair, Honorable Nanzushi. It's unfair. I have faced a similar case again in Tanzania.
Why does this guy keep going to Tanzania?
But you stop going to Tanzania.
You stop going to Tanzania.
You go to Bungoma.
It was about a fire extinguisher. Same. Oh, you've not maintained those things in that vehicle. So there's a fire extinguisher, but then unfortunately the fire extinguisher has expired. So first traffic police officer, I have a fire extinguisher. I had not checked the expiry. They checked the expiry. They're like, Ndugu, kaka, it's expired.
Yes.
Pay a fine. I pay a fine. The officer was very clear to me, where are you going to? Dar es Salaam. It's okay. Go all the way to Dar es Salaam. show them this. Show them that we've already dealt with it. But make sure that you, by the time, when you get to Dar es Salaam, you can replace the fire extinguisher. That makes sense. Now you can imagine somewhere between Namanga and Arusha, you are arrested 3 times for fire extinguisher. Why are you going to buy a fire extinguisher between Namanga and Arusha?
Actually, like for example, you are driving and you have a cracked windscreen.
Yes.
Then you arrested like in the next roadblock. Then you are brought to court. We'll fine you.
Okay.
Now from there, actually, the law assumes you're supposed to park your car.
Remedy that issue immediately.
Yes, you're supposed to park your car.
You are in.
Who wrote this law?
You are in Makinon, in the middle of the Savo.
And look, look. And I often ask this
or
question.
have a police abstract.
Okay. I have a question because oftentimes I ask questions about when we talk about adjudication and what is taken into consideration when some of these decisions are being made. Because we can talk about the law, but then we can also talk about humans and life and the way it actually is. So what is considered? I could be driving behind a truck carrying gravel, and a piece of gravel hits my windscreen, and I'm on a long journey. I get a crack in the windscreen, and I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm supposed to park the car immediately
and repair.
Where? Is there Mr. Glass somewhere that I can buy from? What if I don't have the budget for it? So this is my question.
You're supposed to go to the nearest police station and report. Actually,
and get a
police abstract. You will not be arrested if you have a police abstract.
But for how long can you run around with a police abstract?
Okay, what's the expiry date of a police abstract?
It will not expire, but will not allow you just to continue driving for weeks. And yet, that if it were raining and this, you do not have a good windscreen, or you do not even have a wiper, assuming what would happen to yourself. So take caution.
So essentially, the law is actually there to protect the citizens, is what you're saying?
Yes, the law is there because you're supposed to just report.
You.
And even you yourself, like if a vehicle is bad off, the motor vehicle is taken to a motor vehicle inspector. We have Likoni, we have Nairobi area, we have along Thika Road. There is a notice of prohibition. Sometimes the motor vehicle inspectors, they issue a notice of prohibition. You are given the inspection report attached to it, a notice of prohibition, meaning you cannot now continue
using the vehicle,
causing danger to yourself.
And to other
that is like committing suicide. If you are driving a motor vehicle that is unroadworthy,
so
even for a cracked windscreen.
You know, there is a specific type of vehicle that one encounters in this city. They are meant to be garbage collecting vehicles.
Garbage.
Tilting on one side.
You are actually surprised that it's
on
moving.
one side.
Yes.
And stinking.
And normally
there
the
are
tires don't have
no
all
vehicles
the four balls.
Worn out tires,
dirty
no
as those
seats.
vehicles.
Yes. Actually, I had one case where somebody was arrested along Bunyala for driving
a dirty vehicle.
Such a vehicle.
It was arrested, one of the bins that collect along Upper Hill. And the driver was, gari yangu ni ya kubeba takataka. But I told him, yes, unabeba takataka in our public roads, not within your compound. And therefore you are a danger to other road users. And I will penalize you.
Why are they even allowed?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
You see, the people who are supposed to be doing the job that they ought to be doing, when they don't do their job and I'm brought before you, who should be penalized? Let me give you an example. Stephen is asking this question. I'm brought before a court and accused of speeding, but there were no speed limit signs on the road. Can I use that as my defense?
When you go for driving school, all the roads in Kenya, they have a speed limit of 100.
Yes.
But along the superhighway and the expressway,
110.
It is 110.
Yes.
And
if you go to
build-up area,
it just slow down to 50.
Even in your driving school, now in your driving school, must you be reminded every time
that
now?
This is a build-up area.
Must you be
I
reminded?
must know, yes. I must be made aware where the build-up area begins and where it ends. Should I not be made aware? Because yes, it's the whole place is a build-up area. Where, for example, on Mombasa Road, does the speed limit of 50 begin? Where does it end?
built up area, these little shopping centers you come across.
Exactly.
Where does it begin?
All the way.
Where does it end?
See, you see them. You see the buildings.
Actually, like
That's
in Nairobi.
the thing that many people will say.
Like
that
in Nairobi from
I assumed
Ruiru,
that because the built-up area is here, this is where it begins.
I mean, Naivasha Road.
But Your Honor, you know,
Use the expressway if you want to run
Thika
away.
Road is all built up. So, you know,
Use the expressway.
Yes.
You can
Actually,
move
yesterday I had a funny case where this somebody is arguing that my client rammed onto the rear of another vehicle along Mombasa Road at Bellevue.
Right.
In the morning.
Right.
And actually it's a military car. And the military were arguing that we were not speeding. Then the traffic officer said, which is the law, and people don't know. You are supposed to maintain 70 meters from one vehicle to another. 70 meters. In Nairobi, it doesn't happen because if you maintain
70.
Actually, that is the law.
That is the law.
Whether in Nairobi, whether in Mashenani, whether you are where in the estate,
if
it
I'm
is
here,
70 meters.
the next vehicle should be Mlolongo.
70. Okay, 70 not kilometers, meters. Not kilometers, meters. So when you are driving here, the next car should be at the car park. Such that when you are 70 meters.
Where? Kenya?
That's what the law says.
That is what the law says. And therefore, that is why even
And
if
it has not been
was
repealed, it has not been amended.
Like I was driving, then I just decided to kanyanga
break.
Chip. Nyinyi nyote mnakuja pung pung pung.
Everybody has committed an offense because it should have been 70 meters behind
Yes.
us.
I'm telling you.
Yes.
Yeah.
This system, Your Honors, is designed to be extractive and punitive. How much money do the traffic courts collect on behalf of the government?
We collect a lot of revenue.
Yeah.
And it is I think,
Of course.
I think sometimes Kenyans
I have to
Actually,
ask you-
on
I
some
have-
days we go and we have collected about 2 million, 3 million.
like on a day when people are arrested along Rangata Road for driving
So you
under
can
influence.
imagine-
Kuna operation.
And everybody pays a fine of 50. There are 20 people or 70.
Or you come, Mr. Latif, your vehicle does not have has a tint. You put their blinker lights. Then you change the color of the vehicle. Your seats are not maintained. You know, you come like 12. Let's imagine you've been
Those are
charged
12
12
offenses.
Yes.
Yes.
Offensive.
You want to explain this tint thing to me? And explain to me the bull bar thing to me.
The bull bar,
I don't
and
understand.
blinking lights.
The blinking lights I get, your car can't be a disco. That one I've gotten, I've understood. But this tint, what is the benefit to me not having a tint?
A car
What's
should-
the
Bull bar,
offense?
what is the
A car
offense?
should be very clear such that any other offense cannot be committed. Your car can be a sin of crime.
Yes.
And
Yes.
therefore, it should be very clear that when you are driving along, the way you are seeing what's happening outside there, everybody is supposed to know what is happening in your car.
That's the law.
That is the law. That is why, that is the essence of having clear glasses.
Especially public service.
Especially
vehicles.
Wait. So there's a proviso for perhaps, maybe. And
Public
my own,
service,
okay, now my own
public
private
service.
car?
No, private cars are not charged for having the tint.
Really? And the police know this?
No, you know what happens? Let me tell you how the police come in. Most of the Uber vehicles are public service
Yeah.
vehicles,
Yes.
Okay.
and they have the tint. So that is how the police come in. So most of the time, the police arrest these people. Then they say, this is a private car, ini gari yangu. But it's a PSV, it's an Uber, so it's supposed to have clear windows.
And how do we determine this Prado is a PSV? Because your insurance, you have told your
will tell us.
insurance, I want to insure this vehicle to perform public service.
Yes.
So from the insurance,
we'll be able
it is
to
a Prado, we will know wewe ni mtu wa Uber and you are driving a Mercedes.
Yes. But you're doing Uber, that is
Yes.
public service. So
If you want to
windows-
carry tourists, you should have insurance and you should declare to your insurance, I'm operating TVS, tourist vehicle.
Your Honors, you'll come again.
Yes.
And we'll have maybe some 2 hours. So you can educate people and let people even, because there are very many questions, for example, on social media. Let us have another session, which will just be about awareness.
Yeah.
We will really appreciate.
We'll also appreciate you coming back. The Honorable Esther Kimilu and the Honorable Martha Nanzushi are magistrates of the Traffic Court at Kilimani in Nairobi. We've been talking about the operations of the traffic court on this Justice Thursday. Keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. Good morning, it's 8 a.m.
And please tell them they can always get to justice.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice it.
Spice up your life.
Radio. The news at the top of the hour on Vibes Radio.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie and his co-accused have staged a hunger strike. According to his lawyer Wycliffe Makasembo, the decision was reached after Interior CS Kithure Kindiki said that he'll ensure that Mackenzie serves a life sentence. Earlier, DPP Nurdin Haji petitioned to have the preacher's custodial hearing pushed to tomorrow, citing the prosecution's ill health. Mackenzie and 17 others will be detained until their lawyers respond to the prosecution's application to have them held for an extended 60 days. This as the Communications Authority of Kenya has emphasized the necessity for clear policies on religious programming in response to the Shakahola cult massacre. Alfred Ambani, the Deputy Director of Multimedia Services at Communications Authority, voiced concern that the lack of policies had played a significant role in enabling Pastor Paul Mackenzie, associated with the Shakahola cult activities, to broadcast his message through Times Television. On April 28, 2023, the authority took action by suspending Pastor Paul Mackenzie's television station and that of Ezekiel Odero, the World Evangelism TV, for airing inappropriate exorcism content during the watershed period, as well as violating 12 other regulations. Pastor Paul Mackenzie of the Good News International Church, a former taxi driver turned preacher, is the main suspect in the probe. An Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki has directed the Rift Valley Regional Security and Intelligence Committee, led by Regional Commissioner Hassan Abdi, to arrest leaders behind the fresh clashes witnessed in Transmara, Narok County. Speaking to Turkana, Kindiki reiterated that any leader linked to the Narok violence, regardless of the political affiliation, must be investigated and prosecuted. The CS noted that just like in Kericho and Bomet counties, where leaders, among them Governor Eric Mutai, have been summoned to record statements with the DCI, any leader who is inciting members of the public to engage in acts of violence and destruction of property must be arrested. And Education CS Ezekiel Machogu has announced that schools will receive capitation funds by tomorrow. Speaking in Parliament, Machogu said that the ministry was working with the Treasury to release the funds since the issue concerns the entire country. Concerning feeding students, Machogu said that parents are responsible for paying for students' meals in primary and secondary schools.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Indeed, there is no contradiction because 861 clearly states that providing lunch in our schools, particularly primary and junior secondary, is the responsibility of the parents.
An embattled Siaya Deputy Governor William Odol has denied accusations of misuse of office and intimidating the financed procurement staff. Odol, through his lawyer Paul Nyamori, told the ad hoc committee that the allegations tabled against him were false.
The Deputy Governor William Odol did not know that the renovation of his office was going to cost 18 million, and B, William Odol did not push anybody, least of all Jared Abaya, to procure the 18 million.
However, Siaya Senator Buru Odinga has asked the deputy to resign and stop holding the county at ransom. Odol will know his fate today after the committee reports back to the assembly. And Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni has reiterated his directive that armed Turkana herders will not be allowed into the country, even as he accused his own countrymen of cattle rustling. In his State of the Nation address, the president reaffirmed his stand that Turkana herders will not be allowed into the country while armed. But despite the warning, Museveni trained his guns on members of the Pokot community in Uganda and accused them of cattle rustling. He said they have been raiding homes in Uganda and driving the stolen livestock across the border and hiding them with their tribesmen in Kenya. Now, Kenya is committed to hosting more automotive players to increase local production of vehicles. President William Ruto said the national automotive policy has created a conducive environment for firms to set up in Kenya. He noted that the policy has tamed instability in the sector, especially regarding tax laws. The president said these will create more jobs, enhance skills development, and reliable mobility. For the failed and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's national security advisor visited Rabat as his government mulls a possible announcement of recognition of Morocco's sovereignty over disputed Western Sahara. Morocco considers Western Sahara its own, but the Algeria-backed Polisario Front demands an independent state there. In 2020, then U.S. President Donald Trump recognized Morocco's rule over the territory in return for its partial upgrade of relations with Israel. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseta, good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, so traffic on this is the Laconia interchange. It's spilling over towards the southern bypass, so let's keep an eye on that. And Langata Road is still looking pretty busy, and it's going to be that way for some time. Landis Road, crazy as you're getting towards Kamkunji at the roundabout. All this joining with traffic on Haile Selassie that's coming in from Gong Road and going to other parts of the city. Busy in Westlands, going out towards Waiaki Way. And it's getting a lot worse on Kiambu Road this morning. Lots of traffic, as is the Thika Superhighway. James Kishoro, an absolute mess. Crawling literally towards Waiaki Way. We're in the middle of traffic hour. Let's see what happens in the next half hour or so and talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room. The only
7 minutes after 8 on the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. Thank you very much for keeping it locked and staying tuned. We appreciate your joining us every morning, and that's why also we want to remind you, because Sarit Center is celebrating 40 years of existence. You also have a chance of winning by going to shop at Sarit Center and also by listening to The Situation Room.
40 years, and saying that, you know what, as you come down to the Sarit Center every lunch hour between 1 and 2 p.m, shop for 2,040 shillings and then take it down to the reception desk, and then you could enter into that magic wheel spin and see what you could win as a result of that. And at Spice FM, we're also celebrating with Sarit at 40 and saying, what would you spend 2,040 shillings on? Tell us what that is, and then talk to us on our social media handles, Spice FM KE on YouTube and Facebook, and you could win a hamper today.
Indeed. And that's Reach Your City. Also remember to sign up, to go to your Google App Store and look for 911 Group App. The 911 Group App, it's a beautiful one. So basically what we're saying is you have your panic button on your phone wherever you are. You are on the road, maybe you're driving and your vehicle breaks down and you'd like rescue services. 911 Rescue does that work for you. So all you do is you go to the app and you press the panic button, and then the app, because of GPS location, they'll track where you are, they know where you are, they'll come to you. If maybe it's another sort of emergency, you're under attack and you just want to alert somebody so you can get security, just go to your app again, press the panic button. It's as simple as that. It's having your security with you wherever you are using the 911 Group App. So just go to Google Play Store, Apple App Store, and search for 911 Group and download that app and work with it wherever you are. It's a good thing to have. Try it and let's have a conversation about how it's helping you in coming days. City, the proverb, Tafdali?
The proverb today, as if it weren't bad enough to fall, the ladder lands on top of you.
As if it wasn't bad enough to fall, the ladder lands on top of you.
Yes.
Adding salt to injury.
Kabisa.
It's just, when it rains, it pours.
Kabisa. As you say, Murphy's Law.
Murphy's Law. Whatever will go wrong,
this one
will go wrong.
This one is definitely going to go wrong.
You will fall, you will get injured, the ladder itself
will come and collapse on your head.
Can you imagine? This is a case of what maybe is happening now. So Ndende Nyoro's Committee of Budget and Appropriations of the National Assembly presented its report to Parliament yesterday, and so it's going to be discussed and debated. And what is basically happening is that Parliament is recommending that the government spends 3.679 trillion shillings in the next financial year that begins on the 1st of July. The National Treasury had gone to Parliament and requested for authority to spend some 3.599 trillion shillings. The Committee on Budget and Appropriations looked at what the government was proposing to do, where it wanted to take the money, and they said, nah, we've got to increase this budget by 81 billion shillings. 81 billion shillings. Now remember, the budget that had been taken to Parliament by the previous administration was 3.2 trillion shillings. And then through supplementary budget, they increased that, excuse me,
bless you,
to some 3.3 trillion shillings. Now their expenditure is going to close to 3.7 trillion shillings. The revenues that had been estimated at the beginning of the current financial year was something about 2.4 trillion shillings. Okay? Clearly, just going by the actual revenues collected as at the end of April and looking at the month is coming to an end and the year is coming to an end, we are not likely to hit 2 trillion shillings.
No.
And that's why the government has ended up borrowing a lot more to cover that shortfall. The target this time is that the government is going to raise 2.8 trillion shillings in revenue. 2.8 trillion. Clearly, they will not hit that target unless they tax everybody, even those who are just passing by Kenya. You are passing by Kenya, you're on transit.
Pay something.
Pay something by just being in Kenya, all right? And increase the amount of money that you're paying. Whatever happens, the likelihood of that happening is actually low. The reality of things are the way they are. Now the question is it justified for the government to come up with such a high budget? Is 3.7 trillion shillings budget justified? There is what the budget committee has looked at, and they are justified. You know what, we are going to have, our expenditure is going to be X amount of money, and our recurrent expenditure is going to be 1.565 trillion shillings, and a development expenditure of 743 billion shillings. Counties will receive 385 billion shillings, and all this and the other. There's the whole thing of public finance management and what percentage should go to recurrent versus development, that there should always be a development budget that goes here. So if our recurrent rises, then that means that in order to meet that threshold of 70-30, we have to have at least 30% of that being, so our budget has to go up. Very many stories come up. Question is, are we at a point where the government should actually be looking at austerity? We hear austerity. Do we see austerity from government?
No, we don't. But of course, you have to ask the questions. We're looking at these extra numbers. But the question is, it's necessary to find out this 80.7 billion, they're now adding on over and above the initial numbers, because we saw 3.599 trillion as the initial number that was presented on the budget estimates, right? That has risen significantly. This additional 80 billion in the final committee report and what it is being attributed to, why did it not show up before if it was extremely important in terms of priority? And what would it then be for? If you look at the breakdown that we've been given of the 7.3 billion that goes to State House, the Office of the Prime CS, 547 million, Internal Security and National Administration, 1.52 billion. I mean, the list goes on and on. But it doesn't take somebody with more degrees and a thermometer to realize right now that if anything, what should be happening is a lean and basically tail tucked in between your legs in terms of spending government today. Austerity measures, yes, we've heard them. We've heard of them. Have they ever really been applied is the question. But it seems as though these numbers are jumping out and there's no recognition of the problem that the country really is in. Of all the indications that we've been given time and again of, look, folks who went down the deep, dark hole, this is where they started. It doesn't seem to bleed in any way or in anybody's conscience. And so I think it is about time that we started, look at the different places where you can actually cut and be lean. It is absolutely necessary. It should not be a suggestion. It should not be something that you whip out of a hat during a conversation to sound intellectual. It is actually something that you ought to do. Are there ways that you can cut? Absolutely do them. Do them. Because the truth of the matter is, right now, a very simple and basic question. You don't need to even invite all the economic legalese. Where are you going to get the money from? You cannot bleed a stone. Right now, it is not coming from anywhere. Where is it going to come from? The people that you want to tax, you have taxed them until right now, even to finish this budget, this fiscal year, to finish this budget by the end of this month, it is not there. They're not going to meet their targets for this year. And you're being ambitious and saying, in the next 12 months, we're going to collect over and above that.
About 2. $1 trillion more.
2.8 trillion is now what you want to collect. It's a very simple question. Where is it going to come from? If you do not have an answer that you can see making sense, you can say we'll tax. It's a good answer to give, right?
Yep.
It's a very good answer to give. But is it practical? If right now the problem that you are in is the one that you depended on for the last year has not even been realized, and you want to depend on the same donkey, now it is on 2 legs, and maybe one of those legs is on its knees. If you don't have an answer about where this money is going to come from, it is okay to take a step back and say, hold on, guys. We are treading in dangerous waters here, because that is the truth. That is the truth.
As you say it, is there anything that we've seen from this particular government that tells you that when they have charted a certain path, what is the likelihood that they'll deviate from it? Because to ask this government to pause, that is exactly what you are doing.
Yes.
And yet, there is something that must be brought into this discussion. If you look at the Star, the headline talks about 77 billion Kenya shillings that was spent by the previous administration of Uhuru Kenyatta in projects, most of which, according to that article, have never been completed. And yet they say some of the people who were supposed to be the developers of these projects were paid in full. For the projects to have existed, you can only assume that it was in the budget, money was allocated for it. Now, if you have projects that are incomplete, do you hear any conversations about completing the projects that were not completed, or doing due diligence to determine what really happened and telling us? But usually you don't need to, because the Auditor General is the one who flags these things and says, you guys spent this money on this, but this thing doesn't add up. It's incomplete, and here's the situation we find ourselves in. But even more significantly, even if we talk about the billions,
bless you.
Thank you. State House now has a separate budget. It's delinked from the president's office. But you do the maths, 4 billion plus 7 billion, you get around 11 billion. Forget that maths of the very many billions we keep seeing here. I looked at this list that has been presented in the Standard, and I looked at all this public service, investment promotion, blah, 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 blah. Which of these ministries or which of these state departments deal with emergencies? I'm asking because we've been in a state of emergency now for quite some time. Started with COVID.
Yep.
And then the aftermath of COVID, brought in new emergencies.
Yeah.
The Disaster Management Authority has
Yes.
never been given wings to fly.
It is the situation I am speaking of manifests itself in everything that is being complained about, from skyrocketing food prices, the inability for one to eke a living, all these things. Now, I looked at this list. I listened to what was being said. Perhaps I missed something. Is there something that was put to within this budget to address and alleviate this disaster that just keeps rolling downhill? People who cannot afford to live in their own country.
Those are the big questions to ask. And when of course, if the day that we are going to have, because we've invited and we know he'll come, the day we are going to have Mr. Ndindi Nyoro, the chairman of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, to come and explain their thinking through this entire budget and how they've sort of approved the budget estimates for the next financial year. He'll come and give us very many good figures. He'll tell us, in those, this is how much we've allocated for recurrent expenditure, which includes also the consolidated fund expenditure and services. This includes paying of debt, and then this is how much we've allocated to development. And in development, we have this. He'll give us all those figures. But on this recurrent expenditure, this is where also a lot of money is going into just maintaining a government. All right? And those are the questions that we ought to be hearing from our legislators and everybody else on how much is the government actually cutting back on excesses, on excess fat. So yes, we understand there is debt. But you know what? By approving a 3.6 trillion shilling budget and looking at the revenue and the revenue targets and seeing how much we have been able to collect in the last couple of years, and then looking at the revenue target for this year, you know very well that revenue target will be revised downwards, which means that the deficit will be revised upwards. And deficit is basically Parliament approving a loan. The word deficit is, this is how much you're going to borrow so that you can bridge that gap, that budget gap. Let's look at some of these deficits in the last couple of years. For instance, the budget for 2019-2020 was 2.62 trillion shillings. The revenue in that year was 1.57 trillion shillings against a budget of 2.6 trillion shillings. Deficit, 790 billion shillings. That is basically Parliament saying you can borrow 790 billion shillings. The next financial year, the deficit was 929 billion shillings. Deficit against a budget of 2.7 trillion. You've been told you can borrow 929 trillion. In 2021-2022, deficit of 785 billion shillings. 2022-2023, deficit of 824 billion shillings. In the current financial year, what was the budgeted deficit? At the beginning of the year, what was approved by Parliament at the beginning of the year was a deficit of 663 billion shillings. At the end of the financial year, the deficit has shot up to over a trillion shillings, 1.2 trillion shillings. It's doubled. And the revenue target for this financial year was 2.4 trillion shillings. They have revised it. Their target, current operating target, is 2.1 trillion shillings. They will not hit 2.1 trillion shillings. Basically, what Parliament is doing by saying you can spend 3.6 trillion shillings in the next financial year is saying you can borrow about 1.something trillion shillings. It's allowing the government to borrow more. This government has come in on a platform of saying we are not borrowing. We are cutting back on borrowing. When you run on a high deficit, you're basically saying I'm going to borrow. Where do those two meet? Why are we talking about continuing to spend so much in a government? Why?
You know, Eric, you've talked about cutting on excesses, and this has been said. I believe we heard a couple of months ago, David D, as an advisor to government in economic affairs, talk about the excessive in government are just they're too much. There's so much unnecessary spending. And I think a lot of folks, we say it, again, one of the things that we just kind of say, we just keep going along. But what are some of these excesses that we talk about? That government is spending money on some of these things that perhaps they do not need to. Like what, though? Because they will ask you that question. Okay, Sasa, you don't want us.
Where would you like us to cut?
Where would you like us to cut? So if we're having this conversation, then I think it's important for us to say, okay, is it necessary that some things be? And I know one of the big ticket items was it necessary that you have 50 CASs? Is that absolutely necessary? That you're paying in excess of millions of shillings every month to have those offices and all the adjunct staff, as well as their salaries and all the things the trimmings that go along vehicles, drivers, etc., etc. Is that absolutely necessary? You could save yourself a pretty penny if you remove that option. Is it possible to run government departments without this position? Because if we're talking about cutting, it's a match. We're talking about to save yourself. If you're going to eat bread and you normally have the trimmings, now we're removing the trimmings. Abi? And then you just eat the bread. If you had 2-3 spoons of sugar, reduce it by half, that kind of thing. And so that has been one of the things. Do you need that office? If you don't need it, remove it. We talk, and another one that has come up is offices of spouses that may not absolutely be necessary. Are those needed? Can we take those away? Is it necessary for the large amounts of money that we see being spent on food and entertainment coming out of government departments and travel coming out of government departments? Is it necessary that when there is a mission of government to one nation for benchmarking or for etc., that a whole barrage of 20 people go? Because an air ticket is not cheap either. Is it possible that we see some of those excesses being cut down? If you want to know a government that is serious with the situation that Kenya faces today, you will see that there has been cutting in these things. You will see. But as I always, how much then could actually be saved, properly saved, from cutting away some of these things?
We can actually see, we can tell, okay? When President William Ruto first addressed Parliament, he said, I believe even the budget that this House passed last year should have been 300 billion. We can cut back 300 billion shillings from this year's expenditure. And he instructed the National Treasury and others to find where the 300 billion shillings would come from and cut. Of course, they didn't. Of course, they didn't cut back 300 billion shillings. But the indicator has been that the president says, no, we can spend 300 billion shillings less from the current financial year's budget, which means that if the president has sat down with his advisors and with everybody and has been told, you know what, you can actually look for 300 billion shillings and cut back, then that is already our marker that they can cut back 300 billion shillings. What have they done instead? The first budget of the William Ruto administration is raising the expenditure by over 400 billion shillings from the previous one. The one that just the other day in October, he was saying should be 300 billion shillings less. So what is this 400 billion shillings more than that you want to spend?
Where is it coming
And in fact, even Parliament thinks you should even spend an extra 81 billion shillings from what you thought you should spend. What is it? Should we not be getting signs from a government that shows, all right, we are cutting back, we are actually cutting, so this is it? They'll ask us, okay, so do you want us to fire staff? Not necessarily, but what else would you do?
What else can you do?
Where was this 300 billion shillings that the president thought could be reduced in this year's budget?
Because one would hope. Yeah.
Where was it? Where had
it?
he identified the 300 billion shillings? Go and remove that.
One would hope that by the time he came up with that figure, that he had seen things or he had been told of things that could have been removed that would come to this amount. I do not want to imagine that he woke up one morning and said, 300 billion sounds like a good number. You guys go, save that. No, it came from somewhere. If you have somebody who is interested in making sure that this ship stays afloat, you will see some of those things. You will see it. There will not be an appetite to spend more. But we don't see that. Why? If 1 + 1 = 2, then there is really no appetite to cut back on excesses. It's still a man world out there in government as well, where everybody wants to make sure that they're cushioned
Government
at
is
the
a vehicle for
expense
people
of
to
Kenyans.
make money.
Exactly. At the expense of the Kenyans that they want to use as currency in these conversations on a daily basis. Yes, we're fighting for the good of Kenyans. We're making sure that everything is done. We are securing livelihoods for Kenyans. But then in 2 short days, you come and add 80 billion, and Parliament, the same Parliament that we're being told here on a daily basis is fighting for the good of Kenyans, is approving these amounts. What fuckery is this? I don't even understand.
You are right about intentions and the manifestation, the good intentions. Huh? We are not living in a vacuum. The question that you asked has been answered in this country. We have to quote President Kibaki again. What did he do? He halted, all these heavy duty development projects. He halted, just said, stop. We are not doing any such thing for a year. Let's figure out where we are. He brought in somebody called Waweru. Over a period of time, it wasn't in a day, they slowly but steadily looked for ways of ensuring that they collected as much revenue as they possibly could. But one of the things that happened in that government that I still remember vividly?
Yeah.
They made money available and accessible to the citizen. You could borrow with ease. You need to pay, but you could borrow.
Yeah.
Now, the moment people have access to money, it means they'll be spending it.
Yeah.
If they are spending it within the economy, layman's terms, that economy has money circulating in it. That's how the economy grows. Okay? Came in the Uhuru government, those guys went on a borrowing spree. It's like money was going to go out of fashion. And they borrowed and they borrowed. Truth be told, this government, Uhuru government, where's the difference really? We keep comparing, so-and-so spent more than this other person.
Those people, they borrowed.
In the first, everyone, they are both, it's like a race to borrow as much as you possibly can. Do you know none of this would be a subject of discussion with so much heat applied to it if the plight of the Mwananchi
That's it.
was addressed, not talked about.
Actually addressed.
But it's clear with every passing day that this is not the agenda.
It's not the intention. And you know what? Look, intent can be proved. Intent can be proved. And it is by the result of an action that you're able to prove intent. If you see that certain things are going in a particular direction, it only shows what somebody intends to do.
Yeah.
Their deeds point you to their intentions. Yes.
This thing doesn't get scientific. It is just clear. You want to make sure you save the country. The little that you have, you got it. Or you spend less of it. Or you make sure that you have this thing that works so that you get more of it. These people that you say you want to protect, you make sure that you actually are protecting them. It means that you don't go spend millions on a breakfast. It means that you send money to schools. It means that you don't add more to a budget, which you do not have. I said the last one, they've not finished, which you do not have. You can see the signs. They're hitting you in the face on a daily basis, but then you still go and approve more. From where? The air? Where is it going to come from?
It's just crazy. So, Kenyans, as we talk about the finance bill will come after the budget estimates are presented in Parliament. Now, this is where we watch our MPs. If our MPs actually approve that the next year's financial budget is 3.7 trillion shillings. That's it. If they pass this budget estimates of 3.7 trillion shillings, then they have to think of the finance bill and how the finance bill will actually raise a lot of that revenue. So this is why it's important. 3.7 trillion shillings, is it really justified? Is this the time when a government should continue spending this much, and especially looking at where the money is going? Are these the places that money should be going? Let's interrogate this after this break. 27 minutes to 9. As we talk about all these things, and there's still a financial year to close, and KRA has targets to meet. And the target for KRA as they close the year is about 2.1 trillion shillings they need to raise. They had only raised about 1.5 trillion shillings in about 40 days ago. Where are they today? They need to know. You need to file your tax returns. Go to itax.kra.go.ke. KRA is just the implementer of a policy that comes from the National Treasury. Their job, we've been told, collect, they collect. So they tell you, please sign, fill up your tax returns so that then we know where we stand. Go to itax.kra.go.ke. You have until the end of the month.
Bro, the game is about to start. Let's go. Yeah. But just give me a minute, man. Malize. What's up? Who are you chatting with? I'm just filing my returns, then we bounce. Because I hope you remember the deadline is June 30th. The game will start, banner. Where it doesn't take time. And yep, I'm done. That was fast. Where? Show me how you've done yours, because I don't want to pay any penalty. Just log into itax.kra.go.ke and file your returns. And if you don't know how to, just go to KRA's YouTube page and watch a tutorial. It's that easy. Allah, filing returns is easier than cooking. Easy peasy, say.
Kenya Revenue Authority reminds all PIN holders to file their 2022 tax returns on or before 30th of June 2023. For assistance, call 0711 099 999 or email callcenter@kra.go.ke. You can also visit any of the KRA service centers or any Huduma center countrywide. Kenya Revenue Authority. Tulipe ushuru, tujitegemee.
You think you can guess the year?
2007. That's when the theme song, that's when it premiered for the James Bond movies.
You're half correct. But in terms of guessing the year?
Okay, if not 2007, then 1963.
Oh, now you're just throwing things, eh? You're throwing the sufria and everything outside.
The Spice Drive. Big hair and the biggest hits from the best decade.
Jiggy with it. Tune in to the Spice Drive with me, Edward Quatch, 3 to 7 in the PM.
The Spice Drive, only on 94.4 Spice.
And lows of 13, and we'll see lows of 14 in Nakuru, where it's sunny at 16. 13 and sunny in Nyeri, highs of 24 and highs of 25 in a sunny Eldoret at 16. Mostly cloudy at 23 in Mombasa, and it's partly sunny at 24 in Malindi at 21. Kisumu is sunny, highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 27 in a sunny Kakamega at 19. It's cloudy at 20 in Kampala, highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 29 in a sunny Dar es Salaam at 25. At 11 degrees, Johannesburg is sunny this morning, going to highs of 21 through Thursday and lows of 9. It's cloudy at 25 in Lagos after the rain, highs of 29, and cloudy at 23 in Kinshasa. It'll go to highs of 31 down to lows of 23.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, it continues. Different parts here. We're looking at Kiambu Road still, giving it heavy this morning. Now way past the DCI. Traffic is coming in towards Muthaiga Square. Murang'a Road is also going to get quite tight, coming in also from Limuru Road. Everybody coming into the city. Waiaki Way, heavy traffic is coming in from James Gishuru as you get towards the CBD as well. All right, normal Jogo Road traffic going to Landis, it's bumper to bumper, and then North Airport Road heading out to the Eastern Bypass is also starting to open up a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on things. Langata is still pretty busy this morning for the first time in a minute. Get towards Raila Odinga Way, so you go that way, or you can go into the city via Airdrome Road. All right, let's see how it opens around about 9 o'clock. Spice FM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there.
Spice and everything nice. All right. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Your city is offering something.
Indeed, 2040 is your lucky number. Go spend 2040 shillings at Sarit Centre. Celebrate 40 years with Sarit, and that's between 1 and 2 p.m. Now, take your receipt down to the reception and tell them what you've spent. You then have a chance to spin the wheel and see what you will win. Is it a car today, a cruise tomorrow? Is it shopping vouchers today or gym membership the next? Whatever it is your fancy, or rather, whatever it is their fancy to have you win, it'll be up for grabs as you do that shopping with Sarit. We're also saying get onto our social media handles on Spice FM KE, Facebook and YouTube. Tell us what you would spend 2040 shillings on. You could win a hamper today as we celebrate Sarah, your city, at 40.
Indeed. Now, we are talking about the budget. So, the Committee on Budget and Appropriations of the National Assembly presented its report to the House yesterday, where they are recommending that the government spends about 3.7 trillion shillings in the financial year that begins July. Okay? And then, if once Parliament discusses the budget estimates and passes the budget estimates, the next thing they'll do is discuss the finance bill. Now, everybody has been talking about the finance bill. This government is taxing us to the bone. It's even taking our hair and our eyebrows and everything. Why is it doing that? It wants a tooth and a tongue. Why? Now, if Parliament okays the government to spend 3.6 trillion shillings, what it also has done is it is allowing the government to raise more taxes and to go with what it's recommending in terms of saying, okay, we want to raise 2.6 trillion shillings in the next financial year. That's a high target. 2.6 trillion shillings target is a very high target. That is all ordinary revenue coming from you, your pocket. And this is why it matters. When you spend that 3.6 trillion shillings, what's the deficit? That is how much is going to be borrowed to bridge that gap between the ordinary revenue raised from you and the amount of money that is going to be spent, that is the 3.6 trillion shillings. As we look at all these figures, and the figures are just being thrown at us left, right, and center, the question that we are asking ourselves today, and you're asking Ndu, is does this government really have our interests at heart? And by government, we mean both Parliament and the executive. Do these elected leaders and representatives of ours have our interests at heart? That's the question we're asking. We'd like to hear what you think on 0719 012 600.
And for me, it's very simple. And nobody needs to tell you. They can tell you things with your mouth, but you will know by their actions. The people who coined the adage that your actions speak louder than words, they knew what they were talking about. That if you really care to have the little bit that you need to sort out the livelihoods of Kenyans, you would not see the spending in excesses that we do. You would not see the approval of many things that we do. Because why go borrow more? What is it that you need to do? Is there a time where you need to say, okay, get all the trimmings out of the way and let's see how we can get ourselves back on level ground? It is an absolute necessary conversation to have. It's not being had. So if somebody sees themselves hurtling down this path of danger and there are certain things that you can do, but you do not do, then what are you saying? You really don't care. Like, because you know there will be a buffer of protection for the very few, but the rest of the folks who are in this thing with you actually don't have that protection. You say you want to protect them, but you're not doing everything you can to, then there's a problem. And it's very simple here. If you want to compare it to the very basic unit of society, which is the family, if the people in the family are having a problem financially and they used to go on holiday every year and they used to send their children to the best of schools and they used to make sure that they had, the best of meals, what would that person do once they got themselves in a bit of a financial pickle? You would see some of that fat start to be trimmed off. It only makes sense. It only makes sense. Do you have to have a fleet of vehicles? No, you do not. Do you need to then go? No, you do not. Not that it would feel bad. You do not have the wherewithal to do it. And that's what we're saying. It's very simple. You don't have the wherewithal to do it. Do not do it. Especially when you have 50 million people in tow that you ought to be taking care of. Especially when you do. And especially when at every opportunity, you open your mouth and you say, it is because of you that we are here. Come on.
You know what's underlying all this, is the government is an innate object. It's not alive, it's the people in it. There seems to be an understanding in this country that so long as you've been in a position of power, that position provides you with immunity. You're bulletproof. They forget the term will come to an end. But there's this idea that you will get away with whatever you do anyway. So it doesn't really matter how outlandish your plans are. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how much you misrepresent your people, you will get away with it. This system that we have on this planet doesn't quite work that way. it may appear that you are getting away with it, you never actually do. It will catch up with you, and usually at the most inopportune time. When you least want it, when you least need it, it will come at you. Maybe there's this thinking that, yes, come the time when we need to exit, we could also have a plan B where we don't really exit. The plans of men and mice. How many people have planned and thought they have planned this thing through in the history of this world and the rulership of this world, and how many of them have come a cropper? They've come a cropper because of one simple thing. They neglected their people. It's never any other reason. Never any. And people get to understand that we cannot expect any good to come from this particular group of individuals. And they say, I think it's time you left, because we do not see any good coming out of this.
No, it isn't. You can't see. I can't see it, unless it can be seen somewhere else that I don't know. My question still remains simply, if you can put aside the moral responsibility or the responsibility that a government has to protect its people, the very simple question for me is, where is the money going to come from?
And when you get it, where does it go exactly?
Yeah, where does it go?
How do you spend it?
How will you spend it? Where is it going to come from? Where does it go? How will you spend it?
Let's hear from you. 0719-012-600. Courier in Nyeri. Good morning.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Now, long time, eh?
Yes.
But now my discussion would be, and we narrow it down to this.
Okay.
Our taxation system vis-a-vis the services that we get. In this, Eric, allow me to use you as an example.
Okay.
Eric, you get a payslip. So there are all these taxes that you pay.
Yes.
So by you paying those taxes, you demand the value of Thika Road, expressway, schooling system, health system. Not so?
Yes.
Now come to Kuria in the village. Kuria has been built for a road, a tarmac road worth 2 billion. In that village that I come from, do we pay the same taxes as you pay, such that I will demand for the value of the road and the value of the water services and the value of education services? In this, I want to point out to the payslip, that one I've dealt with.
Okay.
There is this business persons who are going to pay the turnover tax.
Yes.
But allow me, Eric, to today pin to go pin to those persons in the village. Me as courier, do I pay taxes to the national revenue?
You do.
Now, in that saying, I will say this. Maybe I had a deal whereby here in the village, I'm going to get one cow, and I send it to Bama, such that Eric is going to buy a piece of meat in the evening. Do I pay taxes? Now, that narrows down to a tax that used to be called presumption tax. That KERA deleted, and they said, oh, hold on, we are not going to the presumption tax. Today, if courier goes in the village and goes to a barber shop and I'm cut my hair, that barber shop should contribute to the national exchequer because of the road and the education services and the health services. Maybe our taxation system is so narrowed down to the payslip person such that we do not widen it to a scope. And I will give you the last example. I'm an agri-business person.
Yep.
Why don't the government bring in a private investor? Go to Abadeas and bring me water. Then tell Courier, you know what, we are going to have maybe a type of arable taxation farming, whereby if Courier you sell goods worth 100,000, kindly pay 10% of your revenue or 3% of your turnover, and even the cows that you traded with, such that Eric and do in that Spice FM payslip, you are not going to be cut the 3% or the 35%. We have already distributed the taxation. Now, from there on, now we are going to get the services and we will be at equal. Otherwise, Eric, I'm sorry to say this. I'm predating on your payslip, yet I'm in the village.
So you don't think there's equity?
there is no equity in the distribution of taxation, because now, Kuri, I'm going to get a road worth 20 billion. Do I pay for that 20 billion? You, Eric, you go through expressway. You are aware that you pay that taxation? I mean, we need to have a discussion of distribution of the taxation bracket.
That's a good
and the last thing, why are we borrowing? Are we borrowing to consume or to produce? If at all the borrowing we are doing is for production, and even in the industry, such that we create jobs.
Yeah.
Okay, but then, Eric, let us not borrow Peter to pay Paul. Now, this is a villager who is having such a thought. How about an economist who is paid by the government, Bana? We need to have such a conversation.
Thank you, Kuria. Thank you. Have a good day. Let's hear from Jesse, who's in Sagana. Good morning, Jesse.
Hello, Eric.
Hi, good morning.
How are you doing? Yeah, say hi to Muga, say hi to Mo.
Morning.
Hi, Jesse.
My question is, my question is, looking at the big picture, the economic situation, this is suicide economics. What is happening in Kenya is nobody has a clue. And this is basically, the politics is hypocrisy, the economics is suicide. For example, let me ask you, who is Musalia Mudavadi in all this? This guy was in the treasury. He's an economics kind of guy. He was a minister of finance. He's in this government of William Ruto. Why isn't he speaking? He has been given an office. He's not talking.
Talking about what?
That's the first point.
Talking about what?
Hello.
Talking about what?
I'm talking about the finance bill and everything.
You're saying Musalia is not talking?
Yes, he's not contributing to this debate, and he has an office.
Well, he has.
Has he really? Are we hearing him? Shouldn't he be on the front line? Shouldn't he be on the front line? I mean, he's the prime minister. He's been given this position. He's been in finance. He's been in treasury. He knows the nitty-gritty of the whole ministry. Yeah, that's the first point. And then the second point is that all these technocrats we have, all these guys in treasury and finance, who go into retirement. You've just retired Patrick Joroge. You've just retired, I don't know who. These guys live in Kenya, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why can there be a forum of all these former economists, these transition economists from the Jubilee government to the Kenya Kwanza government, whatever you want to call it? Why can't they sit down together? The transition is not complete. You can't just change government, bring in pass some new budgets, increase trillions. These figures we talk about trillions. These guys need to sit in a room. The former guys, are you getting? All the guys who have worked in treasury from 2015 back now. All these guys need to be put in a room together and to hammer out what the hell is going on. They live in Kenya. It's not a transition. I don't retire and go home to my home in Nyeri or there and sit there and then say, oh, honky dory, let me receive my pension, or we did a small mess. And it reminds me, yesterday Okiya Mtara talked about the zeros that were added. When Uhuru Kenyatta was the finance minister, he said, I made an error. I put a zero somewhere, and instead of 1 billion, it became to 1 trillion. And he just said it was what's a computer error? What does that mean? This is subterfuge. It's called, is it subterfuge or it's called, I don't know what it is.
Subterfuge.
Yes, it is subterfuge. We are being played. We are being conked out. And the hypocrisy and the economic suicide has to stop. This plane is crashing. It's on its way down. It's crashing. And Kenyans, I need to know.
Thank you, Jesse.
Yes.
Thank you. Have a good one. Let's hear from you, 0719 600. I've got Opio from Kibera, but Opio has put us on hold. Opio, if you can get on the line and then we hear from you. 0719 600. What you're asking is, with all these things, so the next year's budget is likely going to be 3.7 trillion shillings with the recommendation of the Budget and Appropriations Committee of the National Assembly. That's likely to be passed by Parliament, and then they will discuss the finance bill, and all those questions that you've been raising on the finance bill will come and they'll be discussed. And also the finance bill is likely to be passed with minimal amendments on the floor of the House. What does that mean? Do you think that those that we have put in positions of authority actually have our interest at heart? Those in Parliament, both the National Assembly and the Senate, those in the National Executive, those in the county assemblies, those in the county executives, because the county budgets will be the next issue that we'll be discussing in a few days' time. Opio from Kibera, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very fine.
Karibu sana to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Asante. Now, before I make my contribution, Titi Muga looks very, very well this morning.
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes. Now, mine is a question for the president, actually. Now, this guy keeps saying that he's creating houses for people who are living in the slums, right? Then he goes ahead and says that he's creating jobs for people who live in the slums again. Now, to my understanding, those who will get the houses are people who are being deducted from their payslips. These people from the slums don't have payslips. So, when the houses are done, let's just assume they'll be done. When they're done, you'll get a house because you paid for it. Now, these people from the slums didn't pay for the houses. So, which house will they get, yet they didn't pay for one? Now, that's my question, because it's very confusing, because now you won't go there and say that I'm from Kibera and these houses are mine. Okay, where are deductions?
Opio, I hear you. The issue of the housing fund, no matter how many times it's explained, there'll always be somebody who's left the question, some confusion somewhere. And yes, those are many questions that keep asking, they keep cropping. The only thing is we keep asking.
Yes, and another one.
Yeah.
This thing of investors and contractors. Now, is there a difference between an investor and a contractor?
Yes.
There's a big difference.
Yes.
Because an investor puts money and expects profit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, the government is bringing those people from the private sector to build houses. When the houses are done, we won't be paying those people from the private sector because they're using our money to build the houses.
They're using their money to build the houses, and when they're finished, the government says they will
pay them.
They will pay them.
Oh, understood. Okay, but now my first question is of concern. Thank you.
Pio. Thank you. Catherine in Nakuru, good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. I would like to contribute on the agenda of today.
Yep.
Sometimes I feel sad when I see Kenyans complaining because it is a bed we laid. We are used to making laws with bottlenecks and we have no exit points. I hear people compare Kibaki regime with the Uhuru regime, with Kenya Kwanza regime, and wonder, do these people live in this Kenya? Kibaki regime never had 47 counties to feed. Kibaki regime never had 47 counties to loot. But when it came to Uhuru regime, that is when we started. When we started these 47 counties, a replica of the national government with so many employees, everybody is employed. Nowadays, nearly 50% of our counties, they are employed by the county government. Did we have enough money to do that as Kenya? What did we add as exports or something like that? Today, if we talk about Constitution 2010, I believe 50% was a scam. Because it has put us into these problems. It was a very expensive constitution, and the late President Moi talked about it. But nobody would listen because of our nature of our politics. We don't listen to our opponents complain. It's a very expensive constitution, and it was said so. But what did we do? Because of the nature of our politics, we did it. Then, if today anybody complains about Constitution 2010, you are told you are against devolution. This is where we went wrong.
Okay.
And this is where we are going wrong. How do we go back? Who wants his county to be abolished? We cannot go. We don't know how to go back and retract. Because now they have become political looting sprees.
So what do we do?
Looting institutions. So what we can do is, we laid our bed, we have to sleep on it. If the government now is not able to pay salaries the way we are seeing, it is not. We should be there because we laid our bed. We should be silent and wait for the government to slaughter us in that slaughterhouse we put ourselves in. I rest my case.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you very much to everybody also who's called in this morning. The conversations continue, and we like, yes, to have these debates going on our social media at Spice FM KE on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Keep contributing. Let's all have a conversation. That's the whole point of even having this show. So we can discuss things, we can find solutions somewhere, we can propose our solutions to our leaders. And even when our leaders don't listen, we make them listen. Keep it here. In the next hour, we have another conversation. An author of a book called The House That Museveni Built. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire Dennis Asato. President William Ruto will today attend the 22nd summit of the Kempsa heads of state and government in Lusaka, Zambia. The summit aims to foster economic integration for a thriving Kempsa anchored on green investment, value addition and tourism. Heads of state and government will also deliberate on the state of integration in the Kempsa region. During the meeting, they will also discuss peace and security. On May 31st, Ruto attended the East African Community meeting in Bujumbura, Burundi to discuss the security situation in eastern DRC. During the summit, major decisions on the current security situation in eastern DRC were made. Troops in Burundi, Uganda and South Sudan are currently deployed in the country to help secure areas vacated by the M23 rebels. East African presidents made key appointments in the East African Court of Justice. The heads of state appointed Annette Semewemba as the Deputy Secretary General for Customs, Trade and Monetary Affairs. They also appointed Andrea Mauleth as the Deputy Secretary General of Infrastructure, Productive, Social and Political Sectors. 87% of the people who have been confirmed to be affected by the dengue fever outbreak in Mombasa County are over 5 years old. Statistics from the County Health Department shows that a total of 2,167 cases of the fever have been reported in the past 3 months. In a statement, the department has said that flu infection cases may continue following the continuation of the rainy season. The Kisauni area is the leading area with the highest number of infected people, followed by Jomvu, Mvita, Likoni, Nyali and Changamwe. About 50 young people in Malindi constituency, Kilifi County, are expected to be employed on ships every year through the Marine Employment Program developed by the constituency Member of Parliament Amina Mnyazi. The officer involved in the program, Joseph Simbiro, says that 15 young people have already managed to get jobs through the program.
Watu walitoka Mombasa Bandari College, KCB Bank Mombasa, kuna watu walitoka cruise ship ambao walikuja siku hiyo Malindi kuja kuelimisha vijana ni utaratibu gani wanastahili wafanye ndio wapate hizo ajira. Kuna vijana 15 ambao tayari tunasema kwamba wao kwa makazini. Kwa mwaka tunatafuta tusiwe na chini ya vijana kama 50 hivi ambao tumewatafutia nafasi.
The program was started after Mnyazi held meetings that brought together various stakeholders in blue economy and told them about the ability of the youth of Malindi to carry out this task. He has also been motivating the young people about the many opportunities available in the sector. Police in Siaya County's Bondo sub-county are investigating an incident in which a 30-year-old woman allegedly killed her daughter and mother, seriously injured a boyfriend and then committed suicide at Nyagera, Kombayo village. The woman is accused of murdering her 10-year-old daughter and her mother, Perez Anyango, before going to boyfriend's house and attacking and seriously injuring him before returning home and hanging himself. Acheno is suspected of having disagreements with a 35-year-old boyfriend. Now, business is at a standstill on the Namanga border in Kajiado County after maize importers and clearing agents closed the road leading to Tanzania, protesting harassment by the Tanzanian authorities. The business people have expressed their frustration, saying that hundreds of trucks with imported maize from Tanzania to Kenya are stuck at the Namanga border for over 2 weeks over what the authorities claim is the expiry of permits in some trucks. The over 900 truck drivers ferrying maize from the neighboring country have said and insist that they have been incurring losses for the last 2 weeks without a solution. And the government has announced plans to establish a commission for new administrative units in Turkana County to facilitate accessible and expeditious delivery of services to the citizens. Speaking during a visit to Turkana, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki disclosed that Suguta, Lokiriama, Aro and Lokichogio sub-counties will be unveiled next week. He said that the government is working closely with the local leaders to set up new administrative units. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni has tested positive for COVID-19 and is in good health and will continue his duties while getting treatment. Earlier Wednesday, while giving a State of the Nation address at the Parliament's ground, Museveni gave a first hint that he may have contracted COVID, saying in the morning he had felt a slight cold, prompting him to request for COVID test. He said 2 of the 3 tests that he had done were negative and he was waiting for the outcome of another. As the height of COVID-19 pandemic, Uganda had among Africa's toughest containment measures that included curfews, businesses and schools closures, the shutting of borders and other steps. It fully reopened in February 2022. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, Lunga Lunga still looking pretty busy right about now. It's going to spill over towards the Likoni interchange. Southern Bypass not looking too bad, so there's an option for you to get into the city. But it doesn't look too bad on Uhuru Highway. So if you're going to stick to, and if you're habitual going towards the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, you'll be fine. There's still traffic, heavy coming off of Kiambu Road, so it's going to be there for some time. And the Thika Superhighway, just past Survey out towards Muranga Road, that still continues. Okay, let's take a look. Coming then out towards Westlands, still traffic, still busy. James Gishoro spilling over towards Waiakiwe, still doing that thing. So let's keep an eye on it. Traffic hour will probably end up later than it normally does, but we'll be here for it. Let us know. Spice FM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
Good morning and welcome to the final hour of The Situation Room this Thursday, the 8th day of June, 2023. Ndu,
yes.
What are we giving people for just celebrating with Sarit Santa?
Imagine a whole hamper if you tell us how you would spend 2,040 shillings to celebrate Sarit's 40th birthday. So between 1 and 2 o'clock every day, lunch hour, go down to Sarit, your city, do some shopping at these wonderful outlets that have been there and some joined the fray over the last 40 years. And then you can go spin the wheel and you could win a car, you could win a cruise, you could win a shopping voucher, gym membership voucher, whatever it is. Think about all those things and say, self, how would I spend 2,040 shillings? Self will tell you this. You will then tell us at Spice FM KE on Facebook or YouTube what that would be, and then voila.
That's it, eh?
Yeah.
just like that. And we're going to be announcing the winner towards the end of the show today.
Yes.
So we are picking somebody. Just go onto our social media and tell us how you'd spend 2,040 bob, and Sarit, your city, will reward you with that hamper. Higher. Have you gone on to Google Play Store and Apple App Store and looked for that app we've been telling you this morning? It's the 911 Group app. It's an important one because basically what you have is you have an alarm system walking around with you wherever you are. It's on your phone. Once you download the app, you face any situation of an emergency and you'd like immediate rescue or immediate response, you open the app and you press the panic button and they know where you are, and then they dispatch someone to come and help you. Maybe it's your car that's broken down and you're somewhere in the middle of what you consider to be nowhere. No, you will not be nowhere to 911. They'll send somebody, the 911 security group. They will sort you out. Just download the 911 Group app from the Play Store or App Store, and it's a good thing. We have a guest who's joining us in the studio. He's a journalist. He's from Uganda. He's a producer of current affairs at Vision Group. His name is Paul Busharizi. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you.
Karibu sana to Nairobi. You've been here for a couple of days.
Yes, about a week or so.
Doing one or two things.
Yeah, well, training journalists on illicit financial flows.
Illicit financial flows.
No. The way you put it.
How to recognize, not how to do it.
I was going to say.
No. I have no expertise in how to do it, but I can recognize it somehow. Yeah, for reporting purposes. Yes.
Okay. For reporting purposes. Karibu sana. Tell us about Vision Group, where you work in Uganda.
It's I'm embarrassed to say it in this magnificent place, but it's our biggest media house in Uganda. Newspapers, TV, radio, online, that kind of business. Been in operation now for about 28 years, 27 years. And yes, it's trying to hold fort in an increasingly dangerous media environment.
What's increasingly dangerous? What does that mean?
I mean, legacy media is, we like to think we're hanging on, but we're on our way out. Yeah. We're no longer the gatekeepers of what is considered news and relevant. People are now making their own choices on social media, what is relevant, and I think we are not quite keeping up with them, which is a hard order. I mean, a tough order because it's kind of democratized. Those days you decide. Today, I think the big news is a demonstration here, but guys have decided that the news is somebody's funny video that has come out, so you're totally off the thing, and it's showing the numbers. I don't know whether you feel it here, but
so legacy media is basically just off the pulse many times of the majority,
more times than we like to think,
and we care to admit.
Sad, very sad, but we're hanging there.
It's true, and we have to keep having these conversations and seeing how to act and move into the next one. So you've also authored a book, and we've been talking about that book, The House That Museveni Built.
Yes.
The House That Museveni Built. What's this book about?
Well, so I've been a columnist at the New Vision, which is part of the Vision Group, for at least maybe 20 years. And in that time, you're trying to put context to events that are happening, during the week. So the idea was that, so then those columns, I compiled them into a blog. So in 2021, I hit the 1,000th blog. So I thought, there must be a way to commemorate this. And then someone said, why don't you write a book? And then I thought about all the pain of writing a book. And then someone said, no, but you can do it, an e-book. Thought that was interesting. So I went on Amazon, and, they have their step-by-step thing. So the challenge was, what would the book be about? And I thought, this book has been about Uganda. And the one constant factor, obviously, over those times has been President Yoweri Museveni. And for better or for worse, whatever is happening now, whatever has happened in the last 20 years, he's had a significant role to play, if not a major role. So I thought, the house that Museveni built, kind of a play on the nursery rhyme, I think, the house that Jack built. And so then I tried to get a few columns that speak to that theme, that This is the house that Museveni built. So it's broken into 4 parts. There's the politics, basically how the NRM come into power, how they consolidate power, and how they continue to perpetuate themselves down the years. There's geopolitics, a bit mention of how they've through their own. Let's say Museveni's force of will or something has kind of orchestrated things in the region. And then economics, which is in many ways is their biggest strength. How they have totally turned us around from being a basket case to something to talk about. And then finally, which is a favorite part of me for me in the book, is what we have become as a result. So it's then a few articles commentaries about the things that have happened. That looked at in a different context might sound crazy, but this is now what we've become. We're very sanctimonious
as a people, as a country.
As a people, we're very sanctimonious, but we're very corrupt at the same time. We are very. We try to be serious, but we will not lose an opportunity to party. Are
you saying you cannot party and be serious at the same time?
Not the way we do it. Not the way we do it in Uganda. You have to choose. You have to make a choice.
When you're partying, you're not serious.
Yeah.
But the level of partying that is being alluded to here sounds like serious partying.
Yeah. I think when you say serious in that context, you're describing, the intensity of the partying, but not that, we're taking ourselves very seriously. And so we've come. So at the end of the book, basically, I'm thinking that this is the people we now have become. We're a bit flighty. We're a bit short attention spanned people. We are a bit. But we're very hard. We're very hard workers, not necessarily working smart. We like to show activity, even if it's not delivery. So we've come. It's an attempt without saying what we are to show what we've kind of become.
It was necessary then, I guess, for you to bring out a lot of the history in terms of what happened, struggle towards the NRM and all of those intrigues. Was it necessary to look at that history to arrive at that conclusion, to say that, this is what Uganda, this is what Ugandans are, governance and otherwise, and all of this is a sum total of these experiences, historically and present?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just briefly, we gained independence in 1962, although there's a lot of history before then, of course. We gained independence in 1962. By 1971, we got our first coup, although some people say 1966 was our first coup because the Prime Minister overthrew the President at the time. 1971, we get Idi Amin, and for 8 years, we just go into the real dark ages, real regression in very many ways. And one of the things actually that come out of the Amin era is because there was so much terror and general terror. We began to live for the day. And people who are older than me tell me that it was a very serious thing to say goodbye to somebody in the morning when they're going to work, because you never know. They might not come back. It was a real thing.
Actually mean it when you say
you don't
goodbye.
just take off and say, I forgot to say bye to that person. No, it was really real. So we began to become really day-to-day livers. We live day-to-day, hand-to-mouth, and that kind of stuff. So then, it gets thrown out, and then for another, that's about 1979. Then for another 6 years, we have a bit of stability, but it's chaotic because part of the reason is, of course, the NRM is in the bush causing chaos. And then in 86, then Museveni comes, and him and his NRM, understand that this business of sharing power with people just doesn't work. We just have to subdue everyone, and we run this joint. So but it all comes out of that history. Because President Museveni, even he could have gone to Makere University, but he goes to Dar es Salaam University, and Dar es Salaam University at the time was a hotbed of Pan-Africanism and all that kind of business. And in fact, his thesis in his undergrad year was something to do with the justification of violence in politics or something like that. So you can see, it's all context. It all comes. So it comes to 1986, and the president in NRM is met with this reality. First of all, when you're in the opposition, you think you can fix everything. Then you sit there and you realize, things are really tight. So they came in. People say they had Marxist leanings, but when you read the stuff. There were young guys. Of course, when you're younger, you want to tend towards that kind of political ideology. But they were realists, and they realized that these things of socialism, they might not work in our circumstance. We need to generate the wealth to distribute. You can't distribute poverty. Oh, you can, but it's very painful.
Yeah.
And so then that's how we get into the World Bank and the IMF, and the economy then is kind of picked up. And so you can see the context. We come from a place of pain, and we have to make our own decisions. We have to make our own allies. We have to U-turn on certain things we believe, and then we come to this point.
You know, if you look at the history of Uganda, and you look at how the country evolved to the point where it was the property of the British. You look at the kingdoms that Uganda had, and you look at just the cultural wealth of the country. You look at Milton Obote coming in as president. There's always this question that as Africans we ask ourselves, because what you've described of Uganda is a matter of what has happened on this continent from one place to the other.
Just variations of the same thing.
Yes. Well, you have to ask, at what point, because now this is an African question, not a Ugandan question, not Kenyan. At what point did the rain start beating us?
At what point did they remove the umbrella?
Yes.
Because I think the rain was always there.
There was always rain.
I love that. At what point did they remove the umbrella?
Did we even know there was an umbrella?
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting question. You can talk about it till the cows come home.
Yes.
But it's not in this book, I think. But I've written a commentary before that one of the reasons we got independence is not because we had forced the Muzungu to a point where he says, you guys, what happened? The British basically were broke after the Second World War. And they just needed to shed all these things.
Excess fat.
And keep management to a bare minimum. So, I mean, there's a book I've just finished reading called The Legacy of Violence. I think you probably know about it. It's a sequel to a book called, I think, The Kenyan Gulag. And the person basically says that in 1945, when they came out of the war, they were dire straits. There were people like Winston Churchill thought that this kingdom empire will go on until it will never end. But the economic reality was, so we're not ready. I mean, in Uganda, for example, they tell me, or I read a World Bank report, we had 300 A-level students. A-level, Kenyans might not know A-level now, because they dropped it in 1985. But A-level is after the 4 years of high school, so the 2 years. So if you have 300 guys there, that means how many will go to university?
Yep.
Maybe what? Less than 100. So you can imagine at independence, you had less than 100 guys going to university. I mean, you had no capacity. It was nice to say we were independent, but we were just nowhere. We were nowhere. And I think that was part of the problem. We just had no capacity.
So it came too soon.
It came too soon.
There are arguments that favor what you've just said, but then if I go further south and look at a country like Botswana, I think that same period, and you compare it with Uganda had capacity.
Well, I think the beauty of Botswana also is that, if I'm not wrong, they're like more or less one group.
Yes.
And they had one ethnic group, and they had a centralized kingdom. They had a kingdom structure.
They did.
Which was already holding them together. Now, for the rest of us, I don't know, Kenya, 45 tribes, Uganda, we have another 40-something, God knows. You just knew that it was going to be a problem. These guys were already under centralized authority. I mean, even in Uganda, we have a kingdom like Buganda, which was already a centralized authority. And when the British come and they decide, you know what, let's not fix what ain't broke. And they use the kingdoms as agents of their own thing. But because they found this structure. So I imagine, in my mind, Botswana, that's its biggest thing.
It's very true.
Also the advantage of, minimalist population in terms of numbers.
It comes into numbers, but then we have a country that neighbors us immediately, who you could say have similar traits. Somalia. Same language, but they have clans.
But they didn't have a centralized power.
It depends on how far back in history you go to. Yes, and it depends on who colonized them and their system of colonization. the reason why I'm asking these questions is because it bothers me. There's always the possibility that the chaos we think we've left behind can visit us again.
No doubt.
So I have to ask the question: when did it start raining? When did they remove the umbrella? Because if this question isn't responded to or understood adequately, the likelihood of returning back to that chaos is even greater, and it will be worse because in this information age, can you imagine how quickly information will spread and how quickly it can be taken up and how quickly a problem can actually be escalated?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this is my own, not my own thinking, but what I think is that some people will not be happy with this, is that the problem with us is that we are too many poor people. And poor people have very little interest. An interesting story was told of Singapore. When he wanted Lincoln, he wanted to improve their lot. So he built them flats and gave them ownership and found a way to give them ownership. You pay, but it's yours. You'll pay over whatever period it's yours. He said the quality of demonstrations changed. Because the man knows, my friend, I cannot throw a stone at that window when I know I have a window the other side. And that at a demonstration, people would pick up their motorbikes from downstairs and carry them up before they go to demonstrate. So I think the quality of the poverty among us is the ticking time bomb. And that's why the danger, I think, that we can always regress.
But if you look at all societies, all societies had very poor people at some point. But then systems established, they were established. In fact, in many of these societies, somebody else came and conquered them and created a system for them and organized people. And then the people were so organized that they actually overthrew the guy who came and set up the system and started running the system. There was a moment of chaos, but over time, they found a way to flow. Because it's the same thing. We, before the colonialists came, we had our own chaos, raiding each other. This is a normal thing. You go there, you raid them, you take their women, you take their children, you take their cows.
It's interesting you started with women.
Because that's what used to happen. It's the women and the children, and the animals. And then the colonialist comes and establishes this other system that then does away with our usual thing of raiding and creates this other system. And now we gain independence and we don't go back to our old thing. We adopt this system. I think we are getting to a place where we are now getting to understand this system and working with that system. So the chaos that Citi is talking about, in those years of the 60s, the first decade of independence in Africa, and the coup d'etats and all, it's basically people just trying to utilize a system they didn't understand. Now we've seen a reduction of coups. Well, there are a couple of countries, of course. But then we've seen a reduction of coups. We've seen Museveni staying in office for this long. And there's nobody in the bush. Well, there has been a guy in the bush, but that guy...
We don't know.
We don't know which bush.
Yeah.
But at least there's a semblance of now a system. There's always that fear of what happens after Museveni. Well, there's a likelihood of a return.
Some of these things are also a bit, can you call it cosmetic? So when we talk about poverty, those countries which have survived, without going to chaos or have passed that chaotic, because they have a critical mass of middle class and upper class who hold this system down. Essentially, we say, guys, we can't go down this route. Let's resolve our issues. That's where democracy comes in. Okay, we disagree. You have a party that side, I have a party this side. We talk over tea. And sometimes we conspire against the masses. But anyway, we keep this thing afloat. So the question for us is, have we reached that critical mass of people that can hold? Because even in the more advanced economies, the poor are more than the rich or the middle class. There's no place, I think, where that pyramid is inverted. So it's just about, have we built that critical mass of people who have a real interest in our countries? If you have your land and your house there, it's beyond having these things. You have a real interest, not just going and singing national anthems and stuff. But if you don't have, then your context, the way you operate changes. And we have a critical mass of those people, and that's probably the challenge. The problem with that, of course, is that when you create those kind of people, they become a problem to the people in power. thinking too much, making too much noise, and so the people in power, they're between what you call a rock and hard place. We want stability, so we need to grow these guys, but we want to stay here, so it's better for us if these other poor guys are more. But anyway.
But Paul, when you talk of poverty, what are we talking of? Because it's material economic poverty, or is it a poverty of spirit? I'm going to explain why I'm asking this question. The thing that colonization did, the remarkable thing that it did, it left us disenfranchised. When your way of life is interfered with as conclusively as the colonialists did, the very soul of your existence is more or less moved away. So the biggest battle you're fighting is coping with this new ethos that you've been introduced to, and trying to marry it with something that you have scant memory of another intervening years. It's actually even not there. We had our problems, yes, but there was an understanding as to how one went about their lives on a daily basis. There was a clear understanding. One may not think so, no. but there was. Now, I am looking at Yoweri Museveni, the president of Uganda. When you Google search it and look at Wikipedia, there is no positive adjective that is used to describe his rule. It's either despotic or it's a dictatorship. And yet, you cannot deny that his term in power has brought about stability to the country. You can talk around it. You can talk about people who've been caned, beaten, sent to jail arbitrarily. You can say what you like. But large picture. Now, what I'd like to know about the larger picture is, would you say that the lives of the common man in Uganda has improved significantly during this rule?
I think I think what anyone who watches Uganda seriously agrees upon is that there's been economic growth. The challenge is that economic growth has not been shared, you can call it equitably. Like everyone hasn't had a fair thing. Just a simple statistic, up to 70% of our people derive a livelihood from the land, but agriculture accounts for only 26% of GDP. Just those numbers just tell you that there are some guys who are they've missed out on the action. And that's where the challenge is, that this growth which we have, which is indisputable, has not been equitably spread out. And it's really a function, obviously, of it's known that the private sector creates a growth and the government should be the one which distributes. Now, if there's a failure in distribution, it's a failure of the government. Yeah. It's not a failure of the private sector. Private sector, we did our job. We grew we gave you the pie. We created the pie. Now you're distributing, you fail to distribute the thing. That being said, I mean, how much is there to distribute? We have a budget now, I think it's going to be about 50 trillion Uganda shillings, which would mean in a population of 50 million Ugandans, that's about 1 million shillings every Ugandan, which is about $300 per Uganda. That's what the government has budgeted for Uganda. And we keep joking at home that if I give you $300 on January 1st until you see me again on January 1st next year, you'll be like, boss, wait, where are you going? Add money here. Yeah? So the resources already, I think we came from such a low base that even now when we seem to have shown some progress, we're really still nowhere. We're just So I think that's been the challenge has been that we've been struggling so hard to grow, and then government, of course, as is the case almost everywhere, I think, on this continent, is dysfunctional and in its inability to even use the little we have to maximize the gain. So coming to 37 years of President Museveni, those will be in my mind, those are the two major issues. That you grew the economy, thank you very much, but your dysfunctionality in your government has failed to see. I mean, the urban people of Kampala, they call it urban elite, we are having the time of our lives, man.
Things are good.
Things are good, man. We compared to where we were in 1986, when we had no water and we had no power and we had no basic things like soap and salt. Now, oh man. The other time, a few years ago, guys went on demonstration, and the demonstration was that the sugar prices have increased. We were laughing. We were saying, 1986, you're talking about sugar prices increasing. There's no sugar. What are you talking about? Sugar prices increasing. So the urban elite have had the time of their lives. You know, we are good. You know, we are good. But again, is that a critical mass? And that's where the challenge comes. Yeah, you small little pin at the top of the pyramid there, you're having a blast. These guys down here are saying. And you know, people like to say in Uganda, oh, man, it's a tribal thing. And I tell guys, listen, that guy who is there grinding his teeth, and life is beating him down. The rain is torrential on him. When you pass in your car, he doesn't know what tribe you are. You are the tribe of the people who are doing this to us.
That's the tribe.
Yeah. It's you and us.
Versus us. Let's take a break, City. Okay. And then we continue. It's 27 minutes to 10. Paul Busharizi is our guest this morning. He's a journalist. He's a producer of current affairs at Vision Group, one of Uganda's leading media outlets.
Not one of Uganda's leading media.
Okay. I was getting you there. Yes. He has also authored a book. It's called The House That Museveni Built, and that's what we're discussing this morning. KRA is always near, and they want you to file your tax returns by the end of this month. Have you done so? You should. itax.kra.go.ke.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Yay, Mom, this! Oh, look, it's so beautiful! Mom, can I pick one?
Yes, pick. We need to win the car.
In fact, we need to enjoy free Wi-Fi and the convenience of the Sarit prepaid parking card and gift vouchers. Don't miss out on this great shopping experience. Sarit at 40, celebrating our journey together.
It's that time again when we get to gather around and marvel at the great engineering, raw power, finesse, and sharing our round motor love for motoring at the annual Digger Motor Show 2023. From car lovers, bike enthusiasts, spare part dealers, insurance, as well as asset financiers and more, this year's Digger Motor Show will be one for the books. We're talking a whole 4-day event from Thursday 20th to Sunday 23rd at KICC Grounds, Nairobi, where we will have something for everyone, so you better not miss out. Get the family, bring your friends, and share in the joys that will give you lasting memories and an experience you're bound to not forget. For more information or participation, contact Caroline on 0723-803601 or email sinyandiaka@standardmedia.co.ke. Digger Motor Show 2023 is brought to you by Standard Group and Digger Motors and is powered by Spice FM.
Bro, the game is about to start. Let's go. Yeah. But just give me a minute, man. Malize. What's up? Who are you chatting with? I'm just filing my returns, then we bounce. Because I hope you remember the deadline is June 30th. The game will start, banner. Where it doesn't take time. And yep, I'm done. That was fast. Show me how you've done yours, because I don't want to pay any penalty. Just log into itax.kra.go.ke and file your returns. And if you don't know how to, just go to KRA's YouTube page and watch a tutorial. It's that easy. Allah, filing returns is easier than cooking. Easy peasy, say.
Kenya Revenue Authority reminds all PIN holders to file their 2022 tax returns on or before 30th of June 2023. For assistance, call 0711-099-999 or email callcenter@kra.go.ke. You can also visit any of the KRA service centers or any Huduma center countrywide. Kenya Revenue Authority. Tulipe ushuru, tujitegemee. It is time for you to take your farming business to the next level, no matter how big or small your farming venture is. Agritech Africa and GrainTech Africa are inviting you to come and learn the latest technologies in agriculture, dairy, livestock, poultry, and grain farming. Over 150 exhibitors from all over the world will be at the KICC Nairobi from June 15th to 17th to show you how agriculture is being done globally. Entry is free. You cannot afford to miss this.
Mom, can I pick one?
Yes, Peak, we need to win the car.
In fact,
card. Enjoy free Wi-Fi.
Fine, we're looking at some traffic in different parts of the city still on Limu Road here and there, but the folks on Kamburu have decided, okay, let's all go. And they've all gone. And just a little bit as you approach Muthaiga Square, just past Tutali on the Thika Super Highway is where you'll see some right about now. Let's look at James Gishuru, still a little bit tripping through towards Waiaki Way. Langata Road, that traffic more or less has dissipated. A little bit of it ebbing and flowing on Raila Odinga Way and then out towards Aerodrome. Apart from that, I think we can say, according to the clock, that we're out of traffic hour through the morning. However, talk to us on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Business News with Spice FM.
I'm Dennis Aseto. Isuzu East Africa opened a 500 million shillings paint plant in Nairobi that will see the local vehicle assembler increase production capacity. The modern facility incorporates electrodeposition technology, a method of painting that uses electric current to ensure paint reaches all surfaces of a vehicle, giving an ultra-smooth finish. Isuzu Managing Director Rita Kavashe said the ultra-modern ED paint technology is the first in sub-Saharan Africa outside of South Africa. Kenya Commercial Bank has entered into an agreement with Britam General Insurance to distribute affordable health insurance to small and medium-sized enterprises. In partnership with the National Bank of Kenya, the product targets SMEs across the country with flexible health premium plan. Under the deal, KCB and NBK Bank Assurance Intermediary Limited will jointly distribute the newly launched KCB FLME Simba Health and Uzima Tel insurance plans. NCBA Bank has opened a new branch in Chwele, Bungoma County as the lender seeks to reach more customers beyond urban areas. The outlet is the second to be opened in the devolved unit, making it the 10th county to have more than one NCBA branch. Biodigester manufacturer Systema Bio has launched the largest biodigester manufacturing facility in Pune, India, a move that the company says will reduce carbon emissions. The company observes that Kenya is leading in Africa when it comes to policies on biogas as well as biogas investment on the continent. Therefore, the unveiling of the plant will have far-reaching effects on cutting down carbon dioxide emissions in Kenya and, by extension, the whole of Africa. For Spice Business, I'm Dennis Aseto.
Spice FM Business. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
Minutes of a conversation left with Paul Busharizi, a journalist from Uganda, producer of current affairs at Vision Group, and also who has authored the book, The House That Museveni Built. City interrupted a question that you were asking, Paul.
It's the question I was going to ask is, you see, whenever one talks about Uganda, it is impossible to talk about Uganda and not talk about Yoweri Museveni. Kizza Besigye will feature the conversation. Bobby Wine started featuring recently. But a lot of the activities that you hear from these two individuals I mentioned who are not Museveni, it happens in Kampala. So the question I wanted to ask Paul was, Paul, if I look at President Museveni, I have to ask the question, his biggest power base, voter base, is it in the urban areas or is it in the rural areas?
No, it's in the rural areas.
And where do the majority of the Ugandans live?
Yeah, we have a 22% urbanization rate, so you can 78% of the pool is outside.
Is outside, and that's where the bulk of his support is.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I tell guys that politics is not a popularity contest. It's not about. It's what can you do for me? I might not like you, but show me. And you might say things and stuff, but being in power for 37 years, but then he's not there because people have said, let's just leave him to be there. People have actively tried to get him off the seat. I hear narratives where they say, the man has been there for 37 years, as if no one is trying to get him off the seat, from within and from without. Yeah. So people just make a pragmatic decision. What can this guy do for me? You look at the alternative and you say, but really, you have your doubt to say, well, I don't think.
Yeah.
So we should. it's not as if President Museveni came down the road, there would be people putting down their cloaks on the road for him to ride over. That's not how it is. It's just a pragmatic decision to say who does what for me.
Yeah. Part of this, you talk about the house that Museveni built, and a group that occupied one of the rooms of this house, according to what you've written, is women. And I just wanted to, this is a part of that you've dedicated to that, and just reading some of the things that you put in here. You said, from the times of the Bush War, the nature of the war made it impossible to ignore the women's contribution and hence rig politics to ensure that they got a place at the table. In the time of war, everybody, and I like because you split everybody. Everybody counted. You had to be in a place of struggle. So women were finding themselves in the rebel ranks. If they were not able to make themselves useful, they were dead weight. Right? So the system of struggle, more or less forced women into positions of leadership. And as serendipity would have it, they ended up doing a good job. Yeah. And it turns out that if you look on the scale of things, then Uganda is probably one of the most progressive countries on the continent today in terms of the inclusion of women in its leadership. And you say that looking at 2026, then cabinet would have sealed the presidential election with the inclusion of women. And women are not going to take a back seat anymore. Is this seen by far and wide that, it is obvious the contribution that women have made to governance and leadership in Uganda, even in Yoweri Museveni's administration, his wife being front and center as well?
Well, first of all, and I like that you picked up on the genesis, that when you're in the bush, when you're a guerrilla, everything has to work. You can't be there chilling in the corner and everyone is doing things. Everyone has to be involved in the thing. So the nature of the struggle was that you're drawing your forces or your people or fighting people from the public, the general public. But sometimes, as has been described in other places, when you come under attack, you have to move with whole populations. Yeah. Now, you can't say, okay, women, you stay, children stay, so we're going with the men only. No, you can't do that. So then in that process, the women find they have to operate. As I said, you can't have dead weight. So when the NRM comes out of the bush, it understands immediately that, look, it can't say, okay, thank you, ladies, you can go back home now. Yeah. No, it understands that these people are useful even in themselves. Well, they can go back home and start families, but we still need them in the thing. And it's out of that realization, which was really, if you think about it, a really politically brilliant thing. You bring in 51% of the population. Yeah. Now, 37 years down the line, there are some things women just take for granted that, why not? Why can't I be in it? In other places, you might find women linking off to the side and saying, that's the man's place. But in Uganda, a woman stands up and says, I'm here. And no one is looking at her like, Sha, who are you? No, people are like, oh yeah, okay, she's also here. Let's take that into consideration. And that's a big thing psychologically for everybody, by the way. So in the last 3 years, more women have graduated from Makerere undergrad than men. It's an amazing statistic people are not paying attention to.
3 years.
Despite the fact that at the beginning of their classes or their cohorts, the men are more. But women come on the other side.
Stay in power.
And we have all sorts of theories for that, one of which was in around 1990, the government gave women 1.5 points in addition to their A-level marks to get into university. And that those ladies, those women in 1990 who got those marks are the mothers of the women now.
Right. So there's a case for affirmative action.
Yes. The suggestion is that, those days, if the resources become short and it's time to decide, you say the guy goes and the woman, you relax. Yeah. But the mother now who's been through education says, no, my daughter also has to go. And I have the means and I have the will to make it happen. So maybe that's what's happening. And it's, some of these things, the movements take a long time to recognize. And by the time they gather traction, you can't remember what caused it at the beginning. But yeah, that's true. And we take it for granted now. We don't understand probably where it came from. We think everybody should be like this. When we go to other countries, we're shocked. We're like,
how come there are no women?
Especially our women, by the way. They go for conferences, workshops abroad. They're like, what's going on here? Why aren't people speaking up?
Yeah, because it's interesting, because you talk about the chagrin with which, people in the United States were shocked to find the first woman vice president, and Ugandans will be like,
what's that about? What's a big deal? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so there's been a mind shift over, obviously, the last 30 years about women's importance in things. Of course, women will always, men will always try to maintain the status quo, but it's becoming harder and harder to, because you have to keep conceding an inch, and you look back and say, okay, this guy's a mile. Why don't we try? And you try to take it back, and they're like, hey, wait. Stay on that side, please. We're coming. Yeah, so the struggle is still there for women. I'm sure you talk to women in Uganda, they'll tell you the struggle is still there. But I think, some momentum has been created.
What do you say about the 2026 and the next election and the role that you see women playing in it? What exactly do you mean, and what do you see?
Okay, so the way the women are in Uganda's political structure, that at every district level they have a seat, a dedicated seat. Every level of government, so that goes all the way from parish, county, district. There's a dedicated place for everyone. Even in parliament, they have dedicated. There's a district woman and stuff. So, if you think about it from a political point of view, you've actually co-opted 52% of the 51% of the population. Just by mere fact, they say if we go that direction, we have a chance. Of course, unfortunately, if you're in the opposition, you really can't make that case because you're small resources. These guys have showed you. We do it. So you can imagine women's bias would be more towards the NRM than anyone else, just by mere fact that we see there is a chance.
This is where
there.
they have
And again, not because we like you, but we see there's space
what
here
you
for
do
us.
For us.
What are you going to do for us?
You delve into a bit of Kenyan politics. Sorry, CT.
It's all right.
And another chapter, which was very interesting, that you called Uganda stirs up Kenyan politics. Rather, Ugandan sugar stirs up Kenyan politics. I mean, the length and breadth of it essentially being that, look, Kenya had a bit of an issue. You started off, interestingly, with a line, perennial nearly man of Kenyan politics, Raila Odinga, kicking up a storm in the sugar-growing regions of Western Kenya, and talking about the...
and that was in 2015.
That was in 2015, you said that, yeah. And you said that, Kenya is not able to keep up with the demand. First of all, Kenyan sugar is extremely expensive. But at the same time, Kenya is having a problem taking sugar from Uganda. I mean, you went on, and then at the end you said, the writing is on the wall for the Kenyan sugar industry. Either they restructure it completely, including uprooting the sugar barons in whose interest the status quo works, or let the industry die with no help from Uganda.
Absolutely. No, I mean, it's a long story. I mean, and we're even beginning to suffer the same in Uganda. But, a lot of those industries in Western Kenya were set up or benefited from Uganda's inadequacies. And one of them is the sugar industry on that side. And once Uganda, begins to become independent, self-sufficient in sugar, then things begin to happen around Western Uganda and Mumias and the sugar. And if you're not efficient, then trouble catches up with you. Previously, you could do what you want. After all, they'll buy. What's the problem?
There's markets.
Yeah, what's the problem? But then, obviously, you guys know better than we do that there's an interest group that is also interested in killing those industries so they can import the sugar. Now, for Odinga, what I read in 2015 was that he probably worked out that these numbers who are going to be disenfranchised by the importers are a good base to have. So let's shut out the Ugandans so that we give these guys a chance. And when the election are coming, and we shall sort things properly.
That didn't happen.
I keep telling guys that there are laws of economics. They're like gravity. To take an airline off the ground, a plane off the ground, takes a lot of energy, a lot of power, and all that, and keep it in the air. You can only do that temporarily. And when the power and energy and the resources, you come down. So in economics, when you try to artificially create situations, it takes energy, and then at some point you're going to have to say, "Oh, guys, okay,
you'll run out.
See you guys." So I see it that, okay, Uganda, we're having our problems now in the sugar industry, but I see it that, maybe Western Kenya needs to think less about sugar and do other things and stuff. And especially since Odinga didn't win in 2022, he postponed the reckoning. I don't know whether it's postponing the reckoning, but, you need to really think seriously about just letting it go.
I come from that region and I don't grow sugar. I used to.
The economics decided.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. You might as well just let your neighbor's cows graze on your land. It makes far more sense, and it brings about good neighborliness.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask this question.
Cheaper.
There's one of the things that President Museveni has done. It's almost unparalleled on the planet. The number of advisors he has.
Yes.
Okay.
How many does he have currently?
141, I think. Or are there more?
I don't know.
Okay. Last time I counted was 141.
What?
How many of them are women?
I don't know. There must be a significant number of women.
You see, I look at that system that he has created. Politically speaking, it's a stroke of genius. Politically speaking, I'm careful with my words here, because if you have people whom you've worked with, either you were in the bush, whatever the history is, some don't get elected, some don't quite, something happens. But essentially you're saying there's a place for you.
Yes. He said it before. There are many rooms in my father's house. Absolutely.
So you need not feel you've been disenfranchised. You'll be given something. You'll have an office, an income, probably a vehicle and a driver. Now, why I'm saying it's politically astute, the disgruntlement that often follows just the political goings-ons, it's minimized. It's not eliminated, but it's minimized. Because usually, if I look at political positions within this continent, well, I guess elsewhere, but the continent, the people who tend to give you the biggest problem are people you've worked with closely.
Yeah, and are not in the loop.
Yes, because when they move out, they become very, very, very erstwhile enemies. They're people who can give you a lot of problems because they know you, they understand you, and they also understand the system.
Yeah.
Now, the question, succession. There has to be a succession plan.
Well, I tell people that the succession plan is already there. According to the constitution of Uganda, the vice president takes over from the president. And I think it's again a political move to be as if this is inconsequential. But if we were to say, guys, we want to build institutions, who is the next president of Uganda? What is the process of the next president? It's already in the books. It's all in there. Now, I can imagine it playing very well into Museveni's favor if you guys ignore this, because then I become the guy who decides.
Yes.
Yeah? And if I was the one, I also wouldn't dissuade you from that line of thinking, because it makes me relevant. But the truth is, the process is already the process is in place. I mean, if you're to be clinical,
that's in emergency succession.
But even the party, let's assume the NRM party is the dominant party. Even within that party, there's a process of who takes over, how do you do it. It's all written down.
The next candidate is basically like the deputy.
In theory.
President.
Yeah, or who they decide will be.
Okay.
And there's a process of decision making, which again we don't want to overplay, because then it might take away from me. But the point for me, the whole idea, and for me, this book was like a marker that I'm saying I'm putting this down now. But the real book is coming later, because the real book will come when all these kind of things are resolved. And for me, again, talk about 37 years and advisors, and you're saying political astuteness and stuff. One of our biggest problems, I think, in Uganda is that Museveni has made this thing look so simple. That who even me can be president? That's one of our biggest problems. And it's he has managed. He understands. In my mind, he understands power, how to get it, of course, and how to retain it. And he's not a textbook guy. He understands. He looks at his environment. There might be textbooks on power, political science. I don't know, Sijunini, but he looks around and he says, "Okay, how do I fit this thing?" And it's very pragmatic about these things. He is almost amoral. He's not going to be there saying, "What will people think about me?" No, guys, like, man,
we're doing this.
Yeah, we're doing this. First of all, of course, as a leader, a politician, you have to believe you're the one. You're the chosen one. You're the one who's taking people to the promised land. If you don't believe that, you're not going to get into power. it will be I don't know, miracle. What's a miracle? So you've got to believe. So him, he believes he's the one. Yeah. And you have not dissuaded him over the last 37 or how many years. You have not.
Surely.
In fact, severally I said, you guys, I'm the one who's always right. All of you guys, you're always wrong and wrong and wrong. Every time comes, when time passes, with the passing of time, I'm proven right. I'm proven right. So he says, okay, fine. I'm the one. He says, this is Uganda. This is not Kenya. This is not UK. This is not America. This is not Russia. This is Uganda. How do I maneuver in this context?
Yes.
The textbooks might say what they want to say. In this context, how do I maneuver? And he's shown astuteness over 37 years. And as I said, it makes it look simple, because when people say he's been in power for 37 years, people, especially from the outside, think we have let him be in power. This guy is fending off all sorts of, forgive my French, from all over the place, from outside, from inside, from within his party, from his family, he's juggling all these balls.
He's surviving it. He is not just staying in power.
And one of the things, people don't like to, and I feel bad for them, because they need to recognize this. When we're here dealing with things of June 2023, the guy is in June 2030. So by the time you catch up with him, he's gone. He's long gone. And people are refusing to recognize that, or they don't want to acknowledge it, or I don't know what they want. But and if you have a long-term player against a short-term player, chances are the long-term player is going to come through.
It's the one that's going to emerge victorious. Paul,
love him or hate him, that's how it works.
Thank you for coming today, Paul, and thank you also for discussing this book with us.
It's been great. It's been great. You haven't said the book is available on Amazon for the Kenyan audiences, of course, and Mahiri Books, I think, deliver.
Mahiri Books, they deliver, and you can go to Amazon. The House That Museveni Built by Paul Busharizi. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation. Have a lovely day. See you tomorrow. It's 10 a.m.
Thank you.
Spice up your life